Chapter 8:18. Didn't you listen to Night Sorrow? We're at a disadvantage. We haven't deployed our troops yet, and we can't defend against the enemy's attack. Sky Underworld Saint looked at Night Sorrow apologetically. Night Sorrow had said that they signed the contract too early, and the Western Nether region hadn't deployed their defenses yet. Night Sorrow, what do you think? Xiaolanjun looked at Night Sorrow. Seniors, you can make the decision about the war. Night Sorrow is here to fight. Night Sorrow shook his head. It's my fault for not listening to your suggestion. If you have a good suggestion, we'll listen to it. Sky Underworld Saint said. The other saints nodded. They had cultivated for a long time, and they were all powerful in individual battles. However, they hadn't come into contact with a war before. Then I'll tell you what I think. This war can't be decided in a short period of time. So the loss of one city or one pool isn't important. As long as we win, we can recoup our losses. A local war is all for the sake of the final victory. Night Sorrow said. His words were vague, and he felt that there was no point in defending the Western Nether region now. Don't worry about me. Continue. Sky Underworld Saint understood what Night Sorrow meant. Although it was painful, he also knew that defending the Western Nether region wasn't the best plan. Our 9-domain world was forced into a battle against a prepared enemy. We are at a disadvantage in terms of manpower, resources, and mentality. We should have the Western Nether domain's forces retreat to the 3 origin domain, and set up a defensive line in the 3 origin domain's domain C. We will first suppress the enemy in the Western Nether domain. Then we will gather the Venerables. At that time, whether we continue to defend or press on will be up to us, said Night Sorrow. I have no objections. Long Xianxing said. Then everyone nodded. This was the safest plan for now. Okay, then we'll retreat first. Sky Underworld Saint sighed. Don't worry, Underworld Saint. As long as we win, the Western Nether region's losses will be recouped, Night Sorrow said to Underworld Saint. That's it then. Heavenly Underworld Saint, you arrange the retreat of the Western Nether region. As for the others, return to the other regions and gather all the mid-level and high-level Venerables. Night Sorrow, do you have anything else to add? Long Xianxing said. Heavenly Underworld Saint nodded, and went to arrange this matter. Every force in the 3 origin region, please treat the troops from the Western Nether region well. Do not allow any conflicts or fights. Also gather some resources. War is a battle of manpower and financial resources, and financial resources are resources, Night Sorrow said. Following this, all of the saints nodded. This was a war between the 9 regions world, so it was only natural for everyone to contribute. No one felt that this was inappropriate. Also, everyone has spatial crystals. Don't hide your spatial resources. If Night Moon's 4 pinnacle saints all reach the invincible venerable level, it might be the key to victory, Xiaolanjun said. Night Moon will also give appropriate compensation. I'll use other resources to exchange, Night Sorrow said. His principle as a person was to have no selfish desires. Even in times of war, he wouldn't take advantage of others. What are you talking about? The 9 regions world's war is the responsibility of every life in the 9 regions. Those who need to contribute will contribute, and those who need to contribute will contribute. There's nothing to say about that. Also, you as a 4th rank venerable can fight against high-level venerables. What support do you need? True Ocean Saint asked Night Sorrow. I only need desolate stones. Night Sorrow said. He didn't say anything about exchanging resources. That would easily cause the other saints to scold him. If you need desolate stones, I've obtained a few by chance. Are you sure you can use them? Heavenly Underworld Saint had arranged for the higher-ups in Eastern Cloud City to inform the Western Nether region's people to gather in Eastern Cloud City and retreat. When he returned, he heard Night Sorrow's words. I can use them. Night Sorrow waved his hand, and the power of time in his hand began to revolve. The energy was filled with the changing of the wind and clouds. Then take these desolate stones. Heavenly Underworld Saint tossed 4 desolate stones to Night Sorrow. Latest Chapter 8 on BVI Network. Night Sorrow thought for a moment. There are many people in the Western Nether region. Everyone help arrange the retreat. I'll set up 2 teleportation formations here. That way, we'll be able to teleport quickly and avoid losses. Alright, let's do that. Heavenly Underworld Saint nodded and tossed 2 teleportation crystals to Night Sorrow. War was cruel. The enemy wouldn't attack civilians, but there were still many cultivators in the Western Nether region. 3 days later, the Western Nether region's cultivators finished retreating. Of course, they had taken all the resources with them. The Profound Mysteries realm had taken over the city, but it was empty. The Western Nether region had enough time to retreat because the Profound Mysteries realm had been cautious and hadn't dared to advance too far. Under the joint efforts of the 9 regions' saints, the Western Nether region's retreating troops were properly arranged. The other 9 regions' supremacy's elites were also sent to the 3 origin regions' realm C. Night Sorrow was chatting with the members of the God-slaying team when Long Xianxing sent someone to call him to the command tent. Xia Lanjun nodded at Night Sorrow and summarized the current deployment. Then she looked at Night Sorrow and said, "Young master, you've only been in the world for a short time, but you've experienced a lot of war. Tell me your thoughts. As for setting up the defensive line and array formations, these seniors might have thought about it. Then, I'll add 2 more points. The realm sees coastline seals off the flying cultivators and airships, but it can't seal off the teleportation formations. If the enemy has set up the teleportation formations in advance, then everything we have is just decorations," Night Sorrow said. "Yeah, we haven't thought about that. We're just thinking about how to stabilize the defensive line. If the enemy teleports directly, then no matter how stable our defensive line is, it's useless." Xia Lanjuan's expression changed. In war, we don't just have to think about what we should do. We also have to think about what the enemy will do. If I were the enemy, I would have set up the teleportation formations before the war, Night Sorrow said. "Fortunately, you're from the 9 regions, Long Sheng said to Night Sorrow. Night Sorrow asked about the distance between the Western Nether region and the 3 origin regions realm C. Sky Underworld Saint told Night Sorrow that it was 800,000 miles. The teleportation formation can teleport 1 million miles. That means that if there is a teleportation formation, it's within 200,000 miles of us. However, it's very difficult to find it." Night Sorrow rubbed his head. "Dragon Sage and I will mobilize the beast army of the 3 origin region and sweep through this area. The rest of you, don't be idle. Go and search." "I feel that Night Sorrow is enough to stay here," Flying Tiger Saint said. He was a beast saint and had the ability to control the beasts. "Wuji Saint, you stay here with Night Sorrow. The other saints and cultivators below the supremacy realm will go and search for the teleportation formations," Long Xianxing said. The others left, and Night Sorrow returned to his tent. While he was chatting with Night Moon, Xia Lanjun came. Night Sorrow thought for a moment, and took out the formation diagram of the 3 of them. He handed it to Xia Lanjun. "Senior Xia, this is the formation diagram. Let the participants practice it. As long as they can use it in battle, they can kill opponents with higher cultivation than them." Xia Lanjun took the formation diagram and looked at Night Sorrow. Chapter 819. How's the effect? Xia Lanjun asked as she held the diagram. "Our God-slaying squad is capable of fighting those above our level. This has to do with the fact that we value actual combat ability. However, teamwork is also an important factor. We don't have much time right now, so let's practice this not-so-complicated technique first," Night Sorrow said. "All right, then I'll go find a formation master to carve the diagram and distribute it." Xia Lanjun left after saying that. "Shang are not bad." Yi Shenxian nodded at Night Sorrow. Jay, look at the chapter. Night Moon's Emperor and Prince had been here for a while. Yi Wuyo and Yu Qing had also arrived. Tianyu had also arrived with the God-slaying team. "What formation diagram?" "Carve a copy later and distribute it to the family. We'll learn it too," Yi Shenquang said. He wanted Night Moon to gain some benefits. "Haha, great-grandpas. There's no problem with carving the diagram for Night Moon's dynasty. I researched it myself, and it's Night Moon's. However, great-grandpas, you don't need to practice it. You're all peak venerables, and are on the verge of becoming unrivaled venerables. There's no need for you to learn how to fight against the strong," Night Sorrow said with a smile. Yi Shenquang turned his head away in embarrassment. After that, The Grand Elder and Bei Tiange came to see Night Sorrow. The Sikong family also came to talk to Night Sorrow. As the battle approached, the 9 regions' forces continued to gather. Night Sorrow cultivated his spear technique in the morning, and in the afternoon and night, he cultivated on the 70th floor of the Spacetime Pagoda. One day became 2 days, and the effects were still very strong. Night Sorrow also knew that the battle wouldn't enter the final stage so quickly. The 9 regions' world needed time, and so did the Profound Mysteries realm. 4 days later, a group of saints came back. Among them, Sky Underworld Saint and Dragon Saint each destroyed a transmission formation. Night Sorrow, your judgment is accurate. Otherwise, if we were to just stand guard here like idiots, they would have already blossomed in our midst. Long Xianxing said. Next, we need to take precautions against this, Night Sorrow said. Gather all the high-rank and low-rank monster spirits in the Realm Sea. If venerables fly over from the coastline, we need to be the first to know and kill them. We can't give them a chance to set up teleportation formations. The Dragon Sage has returned to the realm of unbounded desolation and used a teleportation portal to bring all of the high-level exalted level demonic beasts here. Since the 3 origin domain has been a subordinate domain for many years, there's no major power in the realm of unbounded desolation. Therefore, the strength and numbers of the demonic beasts there are still quite high, the Flying Tiger Sage said. Night Sorrow, do you have any better ideas? Even though we can't fight, there are still some things that we can do. Long Xianxing spoke up. Night Sorrow then expressed his opinion. They could use the battle in the Western Nether Realm to slow down the speed of the Profound Mysteries realm, and buy time for the 9 realms. They had already achieved this step, and the 9 realms were not at a disadvantage in a frontal battle. The key was that they couldn't let the enemy sneak in. He hoped that the saints who had nothing to do could go to the coastline and guard against the enemy. Long Xianxing nodded. I have no objections to this, and I'm sure the others won't either. Our saints are just decorations, so we'll leave 2 people behind to support Night Sorrow. The 9 zones also need someone to give orders, so we have to follow orders in battle. That way, our combat strength will increase, said Lin Yuandao. Then, all of the saints turned to look at Night Sorrow. Night Sorrow waved his hand. He just wanted to fight. He didn't want to care about other things. You can't refuse. The 9 realms are related to you, and they all acknowledge you. You just have to shoulder it, Long Xianxing said. Night Sorrow shook his head and said, I still plan to cultivate hard and become a high-level saint as soon as possible. Xialanjun said, how about this? You just have to study the strategy. I'll arrange 2 assistants for you. I'll also cooperate with you to communicate with people you're not familiar with. Night Sorrow wanted to say something, but Sky Underworld Saint waved his hand and said, this is the responsibility of the 9 realms. We have to shoulder it. After thinking for a while, Night Sorrow nodded. This was because many people were looking at him with anticipation in their eyes. Then, the group of saints arranged 2 assistants for Night Sorrow. One was Yi Wuyo, who had become a quasi-saint, and the other was the North Sea region's Taishu. After setting the tone, the saints only left Xialanjun and the 2 first-stage saints from Tianji Tower. The others went to the coastline. Xialanjun gathered the leaders of the 9 realms in Night Sorrow's tent. Night Sorrow's tent was now the command tent. The Eastern Xian region's representative was Lei Hua. The Taiwei region's representative was also from the Eastern Xian region, Kuan Nan. The North Sea region's representative was the City Lord Taishu and the Invincible Saint, Bei Tiange. The Unbounded Desolation region's representative was the Roaring Tiger City's City Lord and Qing Mang, who was also from Tianji Tower. Night Sorrow didn't know the Nanli region's representative. It was the City Lord of Nanli City, Lu Qin, who was also an Invincible Saint. The Taiqing region's representative was Yi Wuyo and Yun Tianlong, who was already a half-saint. The Qingtian region's representative was Sikong Luyin, and an Invincible Saint called Shui Wuling. No one from the 3 origin region came because it had been ruled for many years. The West Nether region's representative was Shi Taiji, the City Lord of West Nether City, who had cooperated with the Qingtian region to attack the Eastern Xian region. The Tianji Tower's representative was Lu Trin Xuan, a half-saint, and Li Changtian, a peak saint. Then Xialanjun spoke. Knight Sorrow would be in full command of the battle, and Yi Wuyo and Taishu would cooperate with him. After hearing Xie Longjuan's words, the leaders of the 9 realms stood up and cupped their hands. Knight Sorrow may have made a mistake, but even if it's a mistake, we still have to carry it out, Xie Longjun said. You can communicate with me afterward. I'm saying this because I want the people of the 9 realms to follow orders. No one disagreed, because this was the general situation, and also the general trend. Then I'll say a few words. This is the command tent. When we're formulating tactics, we can voice out our opinions and come up with a perfect strategy. However, once we leave the tent, we have to carry it out, Knight Sorrow said. That's good. I'm just worried that if we have different opinions, we can't say anything, Shi Taiji said. That won't happen. We're fighting for the 9 realms, and victory is our only goal. Anyone can voice out their opinions and suggestions, Knight Sorrow said. Then everyone nodded. They were originally worried that Knight Sorrow was too young and sharp, and wouldn't listen to them. Now they felt that there was no problem. Since everyone has nodded, I'll issue the first deployment. All the scarce attribute resources in the 9 realms king cities will be handed over to City Lord Taishu. City Lord Lu Qin will be responsible for recording the bills. In addition, if there are any peak saints who have become invincible venerables in the 9 realm cities, report any resources they need. Saints can't participate in the battle, so we'll create invincible venerables, Knight Sorrow said. Yes. As soon as Knight Sorrow finished speaking, everyone cupped their hands and accepted the order. They didn't expect Knight Sorrow's first order to be so imposing. Chapter 820. Half a day later, the representatives of the various domains once again returned to Yishang's tent. They had all brought resources with them. Let's start with me. I have life spirit fluid and origin spirit fluid. These are necessary resources for us invincible venerables and peak venerables. The origin spirit fluid can replenish your true qi in an instant, while the life spirit fluid can heal your injuries. Later, Lord Taishu and Lord Lu Qin distribute them to everyone. Remember, invincible venerables and peak venerables must have them. Knight Sorrow took out 10 bottles of origin spirit fluid and 5 bottles of life spirit fluid. Isn't this a bit too much? Taishu asked Knight Sorrow. The 9 regions world is our home. We can't be stingy, Knight Sorrow said. Hearing Yishang's words, the group nodded. This was courage, the courage of a person in a high position. Then, everyone handed over their resources, which were basically all kinds of attribute crystals. Then they counted the resources needed by the peak venerables of the various regions and distributed them. Night Moon Dynasty took all the spatial attribute crystals, but it wasn't an advantage because Night Moon Dynasty had accumulated a lot of other attribute crystals over the years. Night Moon people mainly cultivated spatial attribute crystals, so they didn't consume other attribute crystals this time. Knight Sorrow also found a formation master to set up an illusion formation and a killing formation. However, there was another problem, which was that there were no top-grade spirit stones to make the formation base. There were many high-grade spirit stones in the 9 regions world, but top-grade spirit stones were too rare. Knight Sorrow took out 100 top-grade spirit stones and gave them to Tianji Tower's formation master, Shang. At this time, everyone looked at Knight Sorrow with admiration. 100 top-grade spirit stones might be the entire collection of a large force. The worst thing to do in a war is to be impatient. We have to stabilize ourselves first. Everyone below the invincible venerable realm must cultivate the joint attack formation. Moreover, everyone must be able to adapt to any joint attack position. This way, when their invincible venerables come, our peak venerables can suppress them with numbers, and our invincible venerables can be free to kill their invincible venerables. Knight Sorrow ordered the group of people. In the end, Knight Sorrow looked at his father, Yi Wuyo. Father, you are now a quasi-sage. Since the other saints are bound by a contract and cannot attack, no one can hurt you. How about you help me gather information? Hee, of course. Father will go over first, Yi Wuyo said with a smile. Max Y at TX above stanza J of new chapter. You can choose 1 or 2 more people. They have to be fast, have strong survival skills, and have no room for improvement in their strength. You can go with them. You can set fires and assassinate people while scouting for information. Night Sorrow said to Yi Wuyo. I can do it. Yin Tianlong stood out and said. I can do it too. Shui Wuling, the invincible venerable from the Qingtian domain, also stood out. All right, your mission is very simple. You are to gather information and cause destruction to buy time for us. The key point is to be able to kill and fight. Every time you shoot, change your location. Don't give them a chance to surround you. Our war is not about winning or losing a city or a territory. As long as we are alive, we can win the war. Night Sorrow looked at his father and the other two people and said. Yi Wuyo nodded. Yin Tianlong and Shui Wuling also cupped their hands in obeisance. They felt that Night Sorrow's tactics were indeed very unique. Lord Taishu equipped the three of them with resources. Fire oil, hidden weapons, powerful poisons. Equip them with everything you can, Night Sorrow said. Hearing Night Sorrow's words, everyone in the tent shivered. This was too ruthless. Not only did they have to kill and set fires, but they also had to equip them with hidden weapons and poisons. This was simply indescribable. Father, seniors, please don't be disgusted. This is war. If we lose the war, our descendants will be trampled on by others. Therefore, all methods are to serve the war. You're just following orders. You're gentlemen. I'll bear the title of a villain. In order to protect my family and friends, I'll do anything, Night Sorrow said. At this time, everyone in the tent once again cupped their hands in obeisance to Night Sorrow. Perhaps before this, I was still unconvinced and just went with the flow. But now I'm convinced, Shitaiji said to Night Sorrow. Night Sorrow, Father understands you. Father cultivates the path of the monarch, and can't bear to see people crowing and stealing. But you are doing a great deed. You are a person of the 9 realms and have done something for the 9 realms. No matter what methods you use, you are doing a great deed. Yi Wuyo left the tent. Yin Tianlong smiled and nodded at Night Sorrow before also leaving the tent. Shui Wuling even gave Night Sorrow a thumbs up. Then Taishu and Lu Qin also left the tent to equip the three of them with resources. In addition, Senior Lei Hu will be in charge of mobilizing people. Those peak venerables with room to grow, go and increase their strength. Those who aren't in seclusion, cultivate a joint attack formation. Senior Sword Sovereign North, you go and gather those who understand formations. Night Sorrow assigned tasks to Hu Leihua and Bei Tiange. Bei Tiange and Leihua cupped their hands in obeisance. Then what should I do? Asked Hu Xiao. Qing Meng also stood up. Continue to gather demon beasts and head to the edge of the realm sea. The more the better, said Night Sorrow. Genius Night Sorrow, I used to think that you were a cultivation genius. I didn't expect your understanding of war to be so good. If it were me, I wouldn't have been able to arrange it so perfectly. Xie Lanjun clapped her hands after hearing Night Sorrow's arrangements. Tianji Tower had left behind a message. Lin Yuandao and Wu Lingfei, who had been listening, also clapped their hands. As long as the seniors feel that there's no problem, said Night Sorrow with a smile. Night Sorrow, when I first met you, you were just a little kid at the 3rd rank. I've watched you grow until now, but I still don't understand why you have so many ideas about war in your head. Wu Lingfei also didn't understand. When Medicine Valley was rising, I was thinking about how to defeat Golden Flame Sect. When Eastern Xian region was attacked by Qingtian region and Western Nether region, I was also thinking about how to win a region war. Later, when I learned about Night Moon, I started thinking about how to maximize the effect of war. The more I thought about it, the more I understood. Night Sorrow smiled. In the future, anyone who meets you in the 9 realms will have to take a detour. No one will fight with you, said Shitaiji. I hope that the 9 realms won't have any internal wars. If we have the energy, we can fight outside. The 9 realms are strong, and that's our pride, said Night Sorrow. Everyone nodded. They liked Night Sorrow's way of thinking very much. Night Sorrow even felt that this war had come at the right time. It was like training soldiers. The profound Heaven World's future war would be the true crisis. Night Sorrow wasn't worried about the profound Mysteries Realms attack. Everyone went to work. Night Sorrow told Xie Lanjun that he was going to cultivate. He wanted to consolidate his cultivation base, and then eat a dragon spirit pill. That way, he could quickly reach the 6th rank. Night Sorrow was still a bit anxious. His mid-level venerable cultivation base wasn't enough to be of much use in a war. Chapter 8:21. Some of Night Sorrow's orders were carried out perfectly. Those who defended, those who set up formations. Many of them were cultivating the joint attack of formations. At this time, the people of the 9 regions didn't care about regions or powers. They all cultivated together. City Lord Taishu, joint attack formations will become the mainstream in the future, said Lu Qin to Taishu as she watched the cultivators of the 9 regions cultivate joint attack formations. In the past, joint attack formations were also popular. I don't know when, but they faded out of the line of sight of cultivators. Everyone began to focus on individual strength. Just look at Night Sorrow's God-slaying squad. They're all young, but they're very strong. Back then, with these young people, Night Sorrow was able to slaughter his way through the various dynasties, said Taishu. Every generation brings forth new talents. In this generation, no one can compare to him. Lu Qin gave her evaluation of Night Sorrow. He's very good to the people around him. He's ridiculously good. He's ruthless to his enemies. They're two extremes. He can't be considered a hero, but he's an ambitious and ruthless person. Taishu also gave his evaluation of Night Sorrow. Since ancient times, how many heroes have had good endings? They've all ended in tragedy. As for ambitious and ruthless people, they've always laughed proudly in their era, said Shi Taiji. You should rejoice. Right now the 9 regions are in chaos. He doesn't want any internal conflicts. If there weren't any external conflicts, he would sooner or later remember the matter of your western nether region attacking the eastern Xian region. The people he's thinking about are all unlucky. The Grand Pure region's dynasties have existed for a long time, but the Jiyu family was still destroyed, said Lu Qin. Cool Bizi Song Pi hair. Don't try to scare me. The war between the western nether region and the eastern Xian region is just a realm war. We don't have any grudges against each other. Even if we don't have a war right now, this matter can still be resolved. The Taiqing region's empires are despicable, and Night Moon is impossible to resolve. Not to mention Jiyu's family. No man would tolerate having ideas about other people's women. They deserve it. Jiyu Fenglan isn't an idiot, so how could he do such a brainless thing? Actually, Jiyu Fenglan's actions are not incomprehensible. The most outstanding youngsters in the 9 realms are his grandson, Jiyu Hao, and Night Sorrow. He wants to discuss Night Sorrow, so that Night Sorrow's luck will not be good, and so that Night Sorrow's spirit will be covered in dust. It's just that some things deviated too much from his estimations, said the Grand Elder. Lu Qin shook her head. A person can be extreme. They can also do anything to achieve their goals. However, they cannot lose their morals. The following days were very stable. Night Sorrow spent most of his time either cultivating a spatial crack or patrolling the coastline. Long Xianxing sent word that he had discovered another transportation formation. This time, Night Sorrow didn't have Long Xianxing destroy it. Instead, he brought a group of 9 realm sovereigns and saints over. Leave this transportation formation, said Night Sorrow. Why leave it? Asked the Grand Elder. It'll be useful. Yishan smiled and nodded at the entropy he had brought. The two of them began to set up a formation. The formation covered a very large area, surrounding the teleportation formation with a radius of 5 kilometers. Entropy didn't have many spirit stones, so Night Sorrow provided them with top-grade spirit stones. He's trying to scam us, said Lu Qin. This is a huge trap. I can already imagine it. When a group of people from the Profound Mysteries realm teleported over and triggered the formation, the teleportation formation would break down, and they would be unable to return. Then, they would be unable to call for help, Hu Xiao said. That's too ruthless, said Qing Mang. Half a day passed, and the array was finished. Yi Shang clapped his hands and said, We're done here. Enforcer Shang, you hide in the illusion array. When they teleport over, crush my communication crystal. When they're done, you detonate the spirit explosion array under the teleportation array. Night Sorrow then created a soul crystal and gave it to Entropy. Don't worry, young master. I'll definitely complete my mission. This illusion formation and killing formation will definitely kill them, said Entropy excitedly as he held Night Sorrow's crystal. Feeling that there were no problems, Night Sorrow left the region and returned to his tent in the Realm Sea. After drinking a cup of tea, Night Sorrow went to the edge of the Realm Sea to cultivate a spatial crack. He used the chaotic flow of space to stabilize his cultivation base. After cultivating for a while, Night Sorrow felt that his cultivation base was stable enough for him to eat dragon spirit pills. Night Sorrow then created a communication crystal and gave it to Grand Uncle, telling him that he would be in seclusion for a while. If there were any problems, Grand Uncle could crush the crystal. After making the arrangements, Night Sorrow went to see his mother and Night Moon. He also saw the members of the god-slaying squad cultivating. Then, he found a secluded place and entered the space-time pagoda. After chatting with Xueshi for a bit, he entered the 70th floor of the pagoda, ate a dragon spirit pill, and began cultivating. While cultivating his true energy, Night Sorrow held the desolate stone in his hand to increase the power of the myriad Daros tome. At the same time, his bloodline talent and soul power were steadily increasing. Cultivating the soul doppelganger consumed a lot of Night Sorrow's soul power. However, after replenishing it, he improved by quite a bit. Night Sorrow knew that the strength of a high-level cultivator's soul power was the key to great achievements. If one wanted to become a saint, one's soul power had to be condensed into a divine pearl. With this as the foundation, one's true energy could break through to the saint realm. After 10 days, Night Sorrow's cultivation base reached the peak of 5th level Venerable. The myriad Daros tome's cultivation base also reached the peak of 4th level Spirit Refinement realm. As for his bloodline talent, Night Sorrow couldn't increase it in quantity. He could only condense it to make it more stable. After stretching his waist, Night Sorrow returned to the 60th floor of the space-time pagoda. Your cultivation base is rising really fast. However, you still have to pay attention to your foundation. You can't neglect it just because you're in a hurry. Xueshi reminded Night Sorrow. Night Sorrow smiled and nodded. After drinking a pot of tea, Xueshi helped Night Sorrow nourish the myriad Daros tome's energy, true energy and body. Only then did Night Sorrow leave the space-time pagoda. After asking the Grand Uncles and Lu Qin, Night Sorrow learned that everything was stable. There was no movement at the moment. The people of the 9 regions world were still increasing their strength. Time is very important. Give us some more time, and we'll have even more unrivaled venerables. The other high-level venerables will also be able to control the joint attack formation. Also, has there been any news from my father, Monarch Yun, and Venerable Wu Hen? Night Sorrow asked. No. However, they're all safe. They left their soul beads in the hands of their relatives. There's no problem with their safety, said the Grand Uncles. That's good. I'll have to trouble the Grand Uncles and Uncle Master Lu with some matters, said Night Sorrow. After chatting with the Grand Uncles and Lu Qin for a while, Night Sorrow went to the God-slaying squad's camp to take a look. Then he went to the edge of the Realm Sea to cultivate a spatial crack and consolidate his cultivation base. Night Sorrow was a bit anxious. His cultivation base was only at the middle level. Once he became a high-level venerable, he would be able to fight peak venerables. Chapter 822. Night Sorrow was very confident in the current situation. So what if the Profound Mysteries realm was strong? If they left the Western Nether region and attacked the 3 Origin region, they would suffer a heavy blow. Yi Shenxian and Yi Shenlei used 7 days to stabilize their cultivation, and they could break through at any time. Another piece of good news came. 2 more invincible venerables appeared in Yiyu. They were Yi Shenxian and Yi Shenlei. Their elemental power had reached saturation, and they could continuously use spatial blades. The power of their spatial rend had greatly increased. This was good news for the 9 regions world. In a situation where saints didn't participate in the war, invincible venerables were an important factor in determining the outcome of the war. After all, it wasn't easy to produce a half-saint. Ordinary half-saints didn't have much of an advantage against high-level invincible venerables. The cultivation of the members of the God-slaying team had increased very quickly. Many of them had reached the peak of rank 5. Night Sorrow was very happy with this situation. When Night Sorrow was about to break through, Yi Wuyo and the other 2 returned. Looking at the three, Night Sorrow knew that they must have brought back good news because Yun Tianlong looked very excited. Then, Night Sorrow learned that Yi Wuyo and the other two had attacked many of the enemy's new strongholds and killed many venerables. The results were very significant. One net in addition, Xue Wuling had set up a teleportation formation in a secret place. The people of the 9 regions world could teleport there at any time to start the war. He had learned from the enemy's experience of secretly setting up teleportation formations. We won't engage in a large-scale war for now. They're well prepared. Time isn't important to them, but we're passively fighting. There are many problems that haven't been solved yet. Time is very important, Night Sorrow said. Everyone agreed with Night Sorrow's opinion. In the past half a month, the venerables of the 9 regions world had increased their combat strength. The defensive line was also impregnable. Yi Wuyo and the other two also brought back some news. The enemy had many invincible venerables and peak venerables. They had been besieged once. Yi Wuyo had brought up the rear and Yun Tianlong and Xue Wuling had escaped. Following this, Yi Wuyo and the other two still intended to fight. They would not let the other party rest. Yi Shan agreed, but he emphasized that safety was the most important thing. They had to ensure that their own safety was not a problem, and that they could maximize their gains. Yi Wuyo and the other two went to battle again. Night Sorrow went to ask Xie Lanjun if the 9 Realm Saints had found any more teleportation arrays. After receiving a negative answer, Night Sorrow understood that the teleportation portal that they had left behind might be the key to changing the outcome of the war. Night Sorrow found Hua Haining and asked him to prepare a batch of poison and antidote pills. After listening to Night Sorrow's arrangements, Hua Haining was stunned for a moment before nodding his head. He knew that Night Sorrow was planning something big again. Before going into seclusion, Night Sorrow went to see his mother again and talked with Sikong Chiyu and the other 2 girls. After that, Night Sorrow went into Yu Qing's tent and began his seclusion to break through. After 3 days, Night Sorrow's true qi cultivation had reached the 6th level of the Venerable Realm. His Myriad Dao Treasured Tome had also reached the 5th level of the Spirit Refinement Realm. Yi Shang felt that the Myriad Dao Treasured Tome was indeed powerful. When the Myriad Dao Treasured Tome entered the Spirit Refinement Realm, while cultivating the body's energy, the Myriad Dao Treasured Tome's soul power increased rapidly. The increase in cultivation allowed Night Sorrow's battle prowess to increase by a lot. After that, Night Sorrow began to stabilize his cultivation. The 9 Realms World's formation was very stable. Everyone's battle prowess had increased. As time passed, the 9 Realms world would benefit. Therefore, no one doubted Night Sorrow's decision. West Nether City was now occupied by the Profound Mysteries realm. The upper echelons of the Profound Mysteries realm were stationed in the City Lord's mansion. Holy Maiden, we've investigated many times. The realm C of the 3 origin field is very stable. It won't be easy for us to sneak in. As for the 3 cultivators from the 9 Realms world, they're constantly destroying our newly formed foundation. We need to deal with them. Otherwise, our morale will be shaken, a gray-robed old man said. Saint Xian, the commander of the 9 Realms world, is very good at looking at the big picture. Even when the West Nether City is occupied, he can still hold his ground and compete with us patiently. That's amazing. Now we're in a passive position, the veiled woman said. This woman was the commander of the Profound Mysteries Realm's attack on the 9 Realms world, Jun Xuanji. She was the Holy Maiden of the Profound Mysteries Pavilion, the strongest faction in the Profound Mysteries realm. The gray-robed old man was the Profound Mysteries Pavilion's Grand Elder, Xian Wenxiu. He also had a high-grade sage artifact. Right now, we still need to hold our ground. After all, we're the ones who have the upper hand. Are they just going to watch us occupy the West Nether City? If they don't take it back, their camp will have different opinions. That will be the time for us to attack, the veiled Jun Xuanji said. Xian Wenxiu nodded. As Xian Wenxiu nodded, the other upper echelons of the Profound Mysteries realm didn't say anything. Xian Wenxiu was the strongest expert in the Profound Mysteries realm. He was the stabilizing force. No one could question his words and decisions. Jun Xuanji was also supported by him. Holy Maiden, how should we deal with those 3 despicable ambushers? They've committed murder and arson. They're unscrupulous in their methods, a man reported. Let them jump. We'll gather our forces in the key areas. Withdraw the forces in the areas that we don't need to pay attention to. The war isn't over yet. Unnecessary occupation is meaningless. They've only discovered 2 of the 3 teleportation formations. The other teleportation formation is our opportunity, Jun Xuanji said as he tapped the armrest of his chair. Following Jun Xuanji's words, the others bowed and accepted the order. Jun Xuanji took out a scroll and tapped it on the table in front of him. Also, why isn't there a spatial attribute Invincible Sovereign's name on the list of 9 domain saints and invincible sovereigns that I have? Holy Maiden, this person's details were determined by me and the Dark Shadow sect master. However, it could also be a hidden cultivator who has just appeared, explained an old man. Jun Xuanji nodded. Although she was furious, she knew that it wasn't appropriate to continue investigating. It was normal for a hidden expert to appear. If there's a problem with the information, we'll be in a passive position. Originally, we thought that the Profound Mysteries realm would be able to suppress the saints and win the war. But now, 2 peak saints have appeared, and one of them can even contend with Grand Exalted Xian. That forced us to sign a saint contract. If there's a problem with the information on the sovereigns and sovereigns, it'll be troublesome for the Profound Mysteries realm, said Jun Xuanji. After that, Jun Xuanji arranged for 30 sovereigns to be on standby. We're not afraid of them harassing us because this is their territory. If the flames of war erupt in their territory, I don't believe they'll be able to hold their ground. Chapter 8:23. After arranging for 30 sovereigns to be on standby, Jun Xuanji once more gave the order to gather people from the Profound Mysteries realm. Xuanji, don't feel pressured. It's not your fault that we're in a passive position. 3 years ago, I went to the 9 regions world. At that time, the 9 regions world was in chaos. I just didn't think they would be able to work together so quickly, said another elder. He was another peak saint, Shang Luo. Jun Xuanji nodded. According to the information he had obtained, the Profound Mysteries realm was certain to win. But suddenly, many variables had appeared. Now that the coastline has been sealed, we can't gather any more information. Before the battle started, we should have arranged for an ambush in the 9 regions world, said Jun Xuanji. Other than cultivating, Night Sorrow was also thinking about the variables of this battle. After cultivating once more, Night Sorrow went to the command tent. Do you have any other plans? Asked Lin Yuandao. Yes. I want to know the details of the Saints' agreement, said Night Sorrow. There aren't too many restrictions. It's just that you're not allowed to attack the other side's people, or set up formations. In other words, you're not allowed to attack or interfere in the battle, said Xielanjun. So it's normal to gather information. Right now, our people are sealing off the coastline. If the other side's saints come to gather information, that's also permitted by the rules, said Night Sorrow after thinking for a moment. No. There's also a rule that saints can't enter the other side's territory. If a saint enters the other side's territory, and the world source perceives it as an attack, they'll be in trouble. Our 9 regions world source is incomplete, but it's still easy for us to kill a saint. A few days ago, we went to investigate the teleportation formation. Since it's in our 9 regions world's territory, it's not considered a war zone, so we dared to do that, said Xielanjun. So it's like that. I understand, said Night Sorrow. Do you have another idea? Asked Lin Yuandao. I want to know the location and situation of the spatial channel between the 9 regions world and the Profound Mysteries realm. Right now, we're the ones defending. The flames of war are burning in our 9 regions world, so no matter how we fight, we'll be at a disadvantage. If we know where the spatial channel is, we can spread the flames of war to the Profound Mysteries realm. Night Sorrow thought for a moment. Saints. If there's no such thing as an agreement, you're going to let the saints go. That's right. If they're not careful, they send sovereigns and sovereigns will, said Night Sorrow. That's true. We must be cautious. Xielanjun nodded. And to this? This? A moment later, Western Taiji and the other sovereigns arrived. They knew that Night Sorrow's side might make a move again. Western Taiji told Night Sorrow that the war broke out in the Nether Canyon. That was the first battlefield. The Profound Mysteries Realm's invasion site was there. We need to stabilize the current situation. After we completely stabilize the situation, we need to win. Sky Underworld Saint, Western Taiji, I'm sorry. The situation in the Western Nether region still needs to be maintained, said Night Sorrow to Sky Underworld Saint and Western Taiji. Night Sorrow, although I'm sad that the Western Nether region has fallen, I can understand the big picture. So you don't need to apologize. If there's anything wrong, it's my fault. I didn't listen to your advice back then, causing the Western Nether region to be handed over, said Sky Underworld Saint. After we stabilize the situation, what do you think, Night Sorrow? Asked Xielanjun. Hehe. I still won't send people to the spatial passageway, because it's destined to be a huge pit. However, I'll go there personally. Night Sorrow stood up and said, Nonsense. You're now the commander of the 9 regions world. How can you go there personally? Xielanjun reprimanded him. The others also shook their heads. I've always supported all the decisions you've made during this period of time. This time it's a little unreliable. Lu Qin said. City Lord Lu, you have your reasons for opposing, but I have my reasons for going. Back then, when I entered the Netherworld as a Void Inquiry stage expert, I was able to survive the encirclement of countless venerable realm nether beasts, but the others couldn't. If I don't go, won't the pit at the spatial passageway kill many of my people? Night Sorrow looked at Lu Qin and said, A general's success is built on thousands of bones. It's impossible for there to be no deaths in a war. What you need to be is a general, not a skeleton. As long as we win the war, the deaths of some people are nothing. I can go there. Lu Qin looked at Night Sorrow and said. She was resolutely against it. If I tell you that this world war is just a training exercise in my eyes, would you believe me? Night Sorrow said with a smile. After that, Night Sorrow told them about the great war that happened once every 10,000 years, and the war that was about to break out in the Netherworld. The 9 regions world is going to enter an era of war. We can't afford to lose people easily. Night Sorrow told them about the great war in the Heaven Profound world, and the situation in the Netherworld. The 9 regions saints are actually just materials. Xielanjun smiled bitterly. I can't do it now. Once I become a high-level exalt, I'll go to the spatial passageway and bring a group of people into the Profound Mysteries realm. At that time, I'll kill, not just take a beating. I'll beat the Profound Mysteries realm until they can't enter the 9 regions again. I'll completely crush them in one go, said Yishan. At this moment, no one objected to Night Sorrow's decision anymore. Smiling at everyone, Night Sorrow left the tent and went to his mother's tent. Son, don't tire yourself out. Come and have some tea. Yu Qing poured a cup of tea for Night Sorrow. Mother, how's the effect of that saber? Night Sorrow asked Yu Qing. First V2 inch, it's very suitable. I don't have the strength of a saint, so I can only display the power of a high-grade spirit artifact. In addition, with the help of the dragon spirit pills, I won't be able to reach the peak venerable realm for long. It's only a matter of time before I reach the saint realm. You don't have to worry, Yu Qing said with a smile. Night Sorrow chatted with his mother for a while before returning to the command tent. What other arrangements do you have? The Grand Elder asked Night Sorrow. Here are 50 dragon spirit pills. One pill can raise a venerable's cultivation by 1 level. You can make the arrangements. In a month, I hope that the 9 regions world will have more peak venerables. Night Sorrow took out 2 bottles of dragon spirit pills and threw them to the Grand Elder. Then he returned to the God-slaying squad's side. He also wanted to see how the God-slaying squad was doing. After Night Sorrow left, the Grand Elder looked at Xielanjun in surprise while holding the bottle of dragon spirit pills. Chapter 824. After arranging things, Night Sorrow drank tea and chatted with Sikongchiyu, Yonglei, and Aoi. They didn't feel much pressure, and they just cultivated diligently. They didn't lack resources. Night Sorrow then went to the edge of the realm sea to cultivate. His true chi and myriad Dao Tome had just advanced, so they needed time to stabilize. If Night Sorrow was stable, then the Nine Realms world would be stable. After all, Night Sorrow was the commander. If he was so confident, then the others would be. After cultivating intensely for half a month, Night Sorrow felt that his cultivation base could continue eating dragon spirit pills and using desolate stones. For cultivators, stabilizing their cultivation base was very difficult. One reason was that they had to spend a lot of time nourishing themselves. The other reason was that they had to fight intensely. Night Sorrow and the other members of the god-slaying squad chose to cultivate intensely. Before entering seclusion, Night Sorrow drew a 4-person formation diagram and gave it to Taishu. Under normal circumstances, Night Sorrow wouldn't go looking for Xielanjun and the other saints. The main reason was that he didn't want them to be tainted by karma and violate the contract. Taking the diagram, Taishu and Lu Qin found people to draw it, and then sent it out. Night Sorrow then went to the Profound Mysteries Realm's secret teleportation formation to take a look. He saw that Entropy was still busy with the formation. "Protector Entropy, what are you doing?" Night Sorrow took out a jug of wine and shouted at Entropy. "I've been messing around with my research recently, and my understanding of formations has improved. Now that I've entered the Grandmaster realm, I've changed my formations again. Let's make them suffer a loss. Let's make them suffer a great loss," said Shang after opening the wine jar and drinking 2 mouthfuls. "Haha, that's a good thing. A Grandmaster formation isn't easy to break. If they can't break it in a short time, we'll be able to kill them," said Night Sorrow. "Don't worry, young master. Leave this to me," said Entropy confidently. After walking around and leaving some dragon spirit pills for the god-slaying squad, Night Sorrow found a deserted place and entered the space-time pagoda. Night Sorrow, being the commander of the 9 zones, is very tiring, but there is nothing you can do about it. Xueshi made a pot of hot tea for Night Sorrow. Night Sorrow smiled at Xueshi. "How have you been? How's your cultivation recovering?" "It's not as fast as before. After all, the spatial storms in the Realm Sea helped me stabilize my cultivation base. Now I can only do it slowly," Xueshi said to Night Sorrow. After that, the two of them cultivated together for a while. Night Sorrow gave Xueshi some yang qi, and Xueshi helped Night Sorrow nourish his body, myriad Tao Tome's energy and true qi. Nodding at the blushing snow dusk, Night Sorrow contacted Little Kong and entered the space-time pagoda's 70th floor. Next, he consumed the dragon spirit pill and began cultivating with the blood spirit tortoise crystal. Currently, Night Sorrow's body was saturated with elemental energy. He could use the blood spirit turtle crystal to help him cultivate the myriad Tao Tome. HAC is 4, and the other 6 were all D, R, and Z versions. Normally speaking, Night Sorrow could only enter the 66th floor of the space-time pagoda. Any higher and he would be injured. However, Night Sorrow's body was so strong that he could ignore this injury. This was also why Little Kong dared to transfer Night Sorrow to the 70th floor. Time slowly passed, and Night Sorrow's cultivation base steadily increased. 20 days passed in the space-time pagoda, which was only 10 days in the outside world. Night Sorrow's cultivation base had reached the peak of the 6th-level Venerable Realm. However, the myriad Tao Tome was slightly weaker, and he had only reached the middle stage. After all, the blood spirit tortoise crystal's effects were slightly weaker. "Night Sorrow, I'll infuse some time energy into you. Try and see if you can absorb it. If you can absorb it, then even if you don't have the desolate stone, your body's elemental energy will always be saturated." Little Kong communicated with Night Sorrow, who was about to get up. Night Sorrow nodded and continued to meditate. Soon after, he realized that there was a special kind of energy within the energy that enveloped him. He knew that it was the time energy that Little Kong had mentioned. Circulating the myriad Tao Tome at full speed, Night Sorrow opened up his body and started to absorb the time energy. Then he started to refine it. It was a very pure energy. When Night Sorrow was refining the energy, he also refined the gray elemental energy. After refining it, Night Sorrow realized that his power of Desolate's attribute had increased. After cultivating for half a day, Night Sorrow stood up. "Little Kong, you're too awesome. I can use the time energy to strengthen the myriad Tao Tome. However, the consumption is a little high. Activating the time energy above the 70th floor requires 5 high-grade spirit stones a day. However, it shouldn't be a problem for you, Little Kong said. Knight Sorrow smiled. Other than the saint spirit stones that he couldn't use and wouldn't squander, he still had over 700 top-grade spirit stones. He didn't care about using high-grade spirit stones. After chatting with Xueshi for a while, Knight Sorrow casually washed up and left the space-time pagoda. He then went to the command tent. Peak 6th level Venerable. Knight Sorrow, your cultivation speed is too fast. Seeing Knight Sorrow's cultivation base, the Grand Elder exclaimed in shock. It wasn't just the Grand Elder who was shocked. Lu Qin was also shocked. I ate the dragon spirit pill, so my cultivation base rose a little faster. What's the situation now? Knight Sorrow asked the two women. Prince Wu Yu, King Yun, and Venerable Wu Hen haven't returned, so we don't know what's going on in the profound mysteries realm. We can only strengthen our cultivators and strengthen the defense line. Also, we've mobilized the demon beasts of the Unbounded Desolation and Qingtian region. They can act as our eyes and ears. Also, the saints are guarding the defense line against the enemy's spies. They won't be able to easily invade, said the Grand Elder. Knight Sorrow thought for a moment and said, in the future, don't let those saints do too much work. After all, the saint contract isn't a joke. If there's a punishment, it'll be serious. All right, we'll pay attention. The Grand Elder nodded. Then, the Grand Elder told Yishang that 3 more invincible supremacies had appeared in the 9 regions world. One of them was Yi Shenquang from the Night Moon Dynasty, Li Changtian from the Extreme Celestial Locale, and Supremacy Yin from the Southly region. Continue to strengthen the high-level combatants and allocate resources. City Lords, please put in some effort. The 9 realms are in a world of chaos. The more experts we have, the greater our chances of surviving this calamity. Knight Sorrow stood in front of the tent, looking out at the realm sea. Knight Sorrow spent the rest of the time cultivating by the realm sea. 2 days later, Yi Wuyo, Xue Wushuang, and Xue Wushuang returned. Their battle robes were stained with blood. It was obvious that they had gone through a great battle. Father, King Yun, Venerable Wu Hen, you weren't injured, right? Knight Sorrow asked the 3 of them. We weren't injured. We were ambushed and trapped in the enemy's formation. They sent peak venerables and venerables to surround us. If your father hadn't been able to tear open space and take us away, we wouldn't have been able to return. Xue Wuling cupped his hands toward Yi Wuyo. At the last moment, he and Yun Tianlong's lives had been saved by Yi Wuyo. They're starting to be ruthless. Don't go there for now, said Knight Sorrow with narrowed eyes. It's useless to go there now. They've realized that the Western Nether region's territory has become a burden, so they stopped occupying it. Instead, they've gathered their forces in the Western Nether region and Eastern Cloud City. Even if we want to ambush and harass them, it won't be effective, said Yi Wuyo. Yes. Their commander has some brains. That's interesting. Knight Sorrow looked at Lu Huahaining. Chapter 8:25. Poison. The sooner the better. I need it, Knight Sorrow said to Huahaining. I'll give it to you within 7 days. Huahaining bowed. Huahaining was a peak saint, but he didn't have the potential to become an invincible saint. After that, Knight Sorrow invited his father Yin Tianlong and Saint Wu Hen to drink. Then he went to the seaside and started cultivating. Knight Sorrow had his own plan. Once he became a 7th level saint, he would go to the enemy's camp and mess with them. Seeing Knight Sorrow cultivate, no one disturbed him. Everyone trusted Knight Sorrow and knew that Knight Sorrow had his own plan. At this moment, in East Cloud City's City Lord's mansion, Jun Xuanji looked coldly at a group of people in front of him. You all swore that as long as those 3 entered the ambush, you would be able to kill them. But in the end, 6 of you were killed and then left. Lady Saintess, one of the 3 is too strong. He keeps sending out space blades and can even use law suppression. When we thought we could exhaust them to death, he tore through space and ran away, taking the other 2 with him. A man stepped forward and said, Holy Maiden, you can't blame them. I was there at the time. That person should have been a half-step saint or even a quasi-saint. It's just that his true chi hadn't broken through. He's really strong. Even a primary saint wouldn't be able to stop him if he wanted to leave, Shangluo said. A half-step or quasi-saint with the spatial attribute is very hard to resist. The next time he appears, notify me immediately. Since he can tear through space, let's see if my spatial imprisonment or his spatial cut is stronger, Jun Xuanji said coldly. The others nodded. No one could stop Yi Wuyo from coming and going as he pleased. Jia Shen, return to the profound mysteries realm and tell my senior brother to come over, Jun Xuanji said to one of his subordinates. Xuanji, it's up to you how we fight this war. Because of the saint contract, we saints are just decorations, Xian Wenxiu said. The only cool thing is W2 and SF, the others are pirated sh*T. We were held back by the territory of the Western Nether Territory. We didn't make full use of our speed, and lost the best time to expand our gains. If we had ignored the Western Nether Territory and directly attacked the Sanyuan Territory, this wouldn't have happened, Jun Xuanji said. Hearing Jun Xuanji's words, the others didn't say anything. This was because at that time, many people's opinion was to take things slowly and surely. That was indeed a mistake. In the future, you don't need to ask for everyone's opinion. If you have war plans, just give the order. Those who don't carry it out will be executed, Xian Wenxiu said. Xian Wenxiu knew that Jun Xuanji was very talented and capable. Her weakness was that she was not domineering enough because she was a woman. Last time, because others had suggested to stabilize the Western Nether region first, her lightning tactics were not implemented in the end. Jun Xuanji nodded, but he couldn't help but feel regret in his heart. If the decision he made last time had been carried out, today's situation wouldn't be like this. We can't let this drag on any longer. We were able to occupy the Western Nether region so quickly because the 9 regions world was not prepared for war. We have an absolute advantage in terms of preparation and mentality. If this drags on, it will be troublesome, Jun Xuanji said. At that moment, the leaders of the various forces in the profound mysteries realm nodded. The truth was right in front of them. Next, Jun Xuanji gave some more orders. They were to build a defensive line in the realm sea outside Eastern Cloud City. In addition, they were to send 3 people to the last remaining teleportation array in the 3 origin region to check on the situation. In the 3 origin region, Shirho, who was meditating in the teleportation array's illusion array, suddenly felt his eyes light up because the profound mysteries realm's people had appeared. Following that, he crushed the communication crystal that Night Sorrow had given him. Night Sorrow was traveling through the spatial turbulence when he sensed the communication crystal shatter. His body flashed out of the spatial turbulence and arrived at the command tent. City Lord Taishu, gather all the peak venerables and above and wait outside the last remaining teleportation array. Do not approach without permission, Night Sorrow said. After that, his body flashed and he appeared dozens of feet away. This speed is comparable to a peak venerables. Something must have happened. Lu Qin muttered and went to gather the troops. After 15 minutes, Night Sorrow arrived at the teleportation array and met up with Shirho. Young master, they are very cautious. They only sent 3 people. They are probably trying to figure out the situation. They are also afraid of being ambushed. Our illusion array's effect is very strong. As long as we don't activate it, they won't discover that we have set up a composite array waiting for them. They won't discover us either, Shirho said, clenching his fists. These 3 people are very important. We must keep an eye on them, Night Sorrow said in a low voice. At that moment, Yi Wuyo, Taishu, Lu Qin, and the other high-level venerables came to Night Sorrow's side. They are very cautious. We don't know when a large group of people will come, Taishu said. That depends on their leader's temperament. If it were me, I would send people to take the teleportation crystal and scatter elsewhere to continue setting up the teleportation array. That way, there's no chance of being ambushed. Of course, they might do that. They are also worried that they will be discovered by our spies if they move randomly, Night Sorrow said. While Night Sorrow was speaking, the 3 people from the Profound Mysteries realm took the teleportation array back. Very good. Protector Shirho's illusion array is very powerful. They didn't discover anything. A large group of people will probably arrive soon, Night Sorrow said, clenching his fists. Elder Hua, where is the poison I want? Night Sorrow looked at Hua Haining and asked. This storage ring has poison, poison water, and everything else. They are all extremely poisonous and are effective against anyone below the Saint Realm. Hua Haining handed a storage ring to Night Sorrow. Night Sorrow, aren't we going to kill them directly? Xue Wuhan looked at Night Sorrow and asked. In a war, exhaustion is an important factor that determines victory or defeat. It's best if we don't exhaust ourselves. Once they realize that they are trapped, they will desperately fight to the death. They are all dead. It's not worth it to be dragged down by them, Night Sorrow said. That makes sense. Even if we die in battle, it has to be worth it. Yin Tianlong nodded. Night Sorrow and the others waited. He knew that the first real battle was about to begin. 2 days later, more and more people appeared from the teleportation array. There were 30 of them, and all of them were peak venerables. There were also 3 invincible venerables leading them. Leave 3 people behind to guard the teleportation array, one of the invincible venerables said. He was the sect master of the Profound Mysteries Realm's Profound Heavensword sect, Yi Xiantian. He was also the deputy commander of this war. Our mission this time is to set up the teleportation array and set up 3 routes. That way, even if 1 or 2 of them are destroyed, it won't matter. Once we set up the teleportation array, we can fight with all our might. At that time, their defensive line will be useless, and we will definitely win the war, Yi Xiantian said. We'll split into 3 groups, Yi Xiantian ordered. Protector sure do it. Night Sorrow nodded at Protector sure. Protector sure stood up and crushed the Spirit Explosion formation, destroying the teleportation array around Yi Xiantian and the others. Chapter 826. How ruthless. We've been ambushed. Killing 1 is enough. Killing 2 is a win. Yi Xiantian roared at the people beside him. I knew you'd have such thoughts, but you won't have the chance. What I want is to kill the enemy without suffering any losses. Yi Shan took out the bottle of poison gas that Hua Haining had refined. With a wave of his hand, he threw it into the array, shattering the bottle. This is bone-rotting poison. Because of the formation protecting the space, the bone-rotting poison won't disperse. Hurry up and raise your protective qi shields. Otherwise you'll die if you touch it. Yi Shan shouted as he smashed a bottle of poison. Despicable. Charge in all directions. Yi Xiantian shouted and gave the order to the people beside him. There's only victory and defeat in a war, regardless of the methods used. Those who dare to attack my 9-domain world will have to pay a painful lesson, replied Night Sorrow. It would have been fine if Yi Xiantian and the others hadn't moved. But once they did, the formation set up by Night Sorrow and entropy took effect. Night Sorrow's ability to set up formations was average, but entropy was powerful. He was an array grandmaster, and the formations he set up were able to communicate with law energy. The illusion formation trapped the Profound Mysteries Realm's people within a certain range. Wind blades, flames, water ripples, and all kinds of elemental attacks continuously attacked the trapped experts. Night Sorrow flashed into the formation. He was the one who had set up the formation, so he could enter and exit as he pleased. Holding the reincarnation spear in his right hand, and the sky-piercing spear in his left, Night Sorrow began attacking the trapped experts. Peak venerables were very strong, but Night Sorrow's weapon had the void attribute, so it was easy for him to break through their protective qi barriers. Once the protective qi barriers were broken, the Profound Mysteries Realm's people would have to suffer the corrosion of the bone-corroding poison. Being attacked by Night Sorrow, the Profound Mysteries Realm's people continuously cursed. Yi Shang didn't care at all as he continued to attack. Inside the array formation, he was like a blind man beating a blind man. Within East Cloud City's City Lord's mansion, Yi Xiantian, who was sitting below Jun Xuanji, stood up. It's over. We've fallen into a trap. They've set up a formation outside the transportation formation, and we can't break it. We'll probably be wiped out. Yi Xiantian had sent his spiritual avatar this time, so he could immediately report back. Despicable. Curse Shang Luo. That's how war is. We can't say who's despicable. It's just that we didn't have the ability to scheme against them. They could have destroyed the teleportation array, but they chose to leave us behind. Jun Xuanji said as he tapped on the armrest of his chair. We can't escape. We are doomed to be annihilated, Yi Xiantian said with a sigh after sensing the battle situation. Then let's try to get as much information as we can. Let's see who their leader is. If we know their personality, we won't end up with nothing, Jun Xuanji said. Cowardly scoundrels, you don't even dare to fight us head-on. What kind of ability is that? Cursed Yi Xuantian's spiritual avatar. When you invaded the Western Nether region, you also didn't plan on fighting us head-on. Didn't you also launch sneak attacks and blitzkrieg attacks? You also didn't declare war on the 9 regions world, said Night Sorrow. What a sharp tongue. Do you dare to leave your name behind? Do you dare to leave your name behind? Yi Xiantian went back to his original goal. He wanted to know the name of the commander of the 9 regions world. I know that some of you have cultivated soul clones and want to maximize your benefits before you die in battle. Normally speaking, I shouldn't tell you. Today, I'll be a bit more magnanimous. My name is Night Sorrow, and I'm the commander of the Profound Mysteries realm. Do you dare leave your name behind and accept my challenge? Shouted Night Sorrow after breaking through another Peak Venerable's protective barrier. Holy Maiden, he said his name is Night Sorrow and asked if we dare to leave our name behind, said Yi Xiantian to Jun Xuanji. Tell him that if he dares to declare war, I won't accept his challenge. Go find me all the information on Night Sorrow. If you don't have it, go find the other cultivators in the Western Nether region. Jun Xuanji nodded coldly at Yi Xiantian. Then he gave orders to the others. Half a day later, Yi Xuantian's spiritual avatar and 30 Peak Venerables had been killed by Night Sorrow. Not a single one of them survived. This was a fatal blow to the Profound Mysteries realm. Unless they had the ability to break through space, they wouldn't even have a chance to escape. Cool hair. Of course, even if Night Sorrow relied on the formation to kill the 30 exalted ones, he wouldn't be able to do it in a short period of time. Later on, Yi Wuyo, Yin Tianlong, Shui Wuheng, and Bei Tiange joined the battle, and the battle ended quickly. After the battle ended, Shang removed the formation. Night Sorrow had Taishu and Lu Qin collect the resources. But the result was just as Night Sorrow had expected. Other than the necessary weapons and resources, they didn't bring any other resources. This battle was very effective. Lu Qin gave Night Sorrow a thumbs up. It was strong, but my reputation is bad. Not only does the 9 Domains world know that I'm shameless, but the Profound Mysteries realm also knows, said Night Sorrow. This is a skill. In a battle where both sides are similar in strength, it's a competition of craftiness. Whoever is more scheming will be stronger, said Lu Qin. Let's wait a little longer. It's time for us to counterattack, said Night Sorrow. The others nodded. They had absolute trust and support for Night Sorrow. Whether it was saints or high-level venerables, if they were in his shoes, they wouldn't be able to do what he did. After that, Night Sorrow told the 9 Domains world's cultivators to continue increasing their strength and strengthening the defensive line. He went to the edge of the realm sea to cultivate spatial cracks. The 9 Domains world was stable, but the Profound Mysteries realm was a bit panicked. The 9 Domains world had crippled the Profound Mysteries realm's 2 super sects, the Profound Mysteries realm's Profound Heaven Sword sect and Wandering Cloud Sword sect. All of their peak venerables had died in battle. This was a great loss. The Profound Mysteries realm had lost more than a third of their strength under the Saint realm. Looking at Night Sorrow's information, Jun Xuanji couldn't understand. Holy Maiden, what are our chances of winning this battle? Asked Xian Wenxiu. We still have a 70% chance. Even if we make a mistake and lose a portion of our strength, the remaining venerables and peak venerables still have the power to crush them, said Jun Xuanji. The 9 Domains world actually used a 20-year-old child as their commander. That's a bit disappointing, said Shang Luo after looking at the information in his hand. That Night Sorrow is famous in the 9 Domains world because he's a cultivation genius. I just didn't expect him to have such a deep understanding of war. Because he's young, he doesn't have any misgivings and isn't bound by rules. He doesn't act according to common sense. He won't be easy to deal with, said Jun Xuanji. There are no tricks in war. Even if we win, we'll suffer great losses. We can't cause trouble among them right now, said Xian Wenxiu. Get ready. I'll take my people and take a flying ship to meet them head-on, said Jun Xuanji. Chapter 827. The Profound Pavilion was the strongest power in the Profound Mysteries realm. It was far stronger than the other powers, which was why it was able to command everyone. The competition within the Profound Pavilion was very intense. If the leader was a woman, she would be the Holy Daughter. If it was a man, he would be the Holy Son. Jun Xuanji was able to stand out among the countless geniuses the Profound Pavilion had nurtured. Not only was she intelligent, but she also had incredible cultivation talent. She had the power to fight new sages while still at the peak of the Profound Mysteries realm. Now that she was a half-sage, she was the strongest person beneath the Saint realm. That's one way. If we can directly crush them and kill their leader, we'll be able to break their momentum, said Xian Wenxiu. Night Sorrow cultivated for 2 days. He felt that his true qi had stabilized, and he entered the space-time pagoda to enter seclusion. He planned to raise his cultivation base to the 7th rank. The 7th rank was different from the 6th rank. One was a mid-rank, while the other was a late rank. There was a huge difference in power. Night Sorrow spent 2 days on the lower 70 floors of the space-time pagoda to raise his true qi to the 7th rank. His myriad Dao treasure cannon also reached the peak of the 5th rank of the spirit refinement realm. He could enter the 6th floor at any time. Just as Night Sorrow was about to stabilize his cultivation base and break through the myriad Dao treasure cannon, his messaging crystal shattered once more. Night Sorrow left the space-time pagoda and went to the command tent. He knew what had happened because a flying ship had stopped in the sky above the realm sea. Yes. Since we can't outsmart them, we plan to fight them head-on. How strong are we right now? Asked Night Sorrow. We have about 10 unrivaled sovereigns and 30 peak sovereigns, said the granduncle. Our strength is within their calculations. We have no chance of winning if we fight them head-on. Protector Shang, prepare to activate the formation at any time, said Night Sorrow. Night Sorrow, I've come. Do you dare accept my challenge? Jun Xuanji appeared in front of the flying ship. An unrivaled sovereign, and a quasi-sage at that. She has law energy revolving around her, said Xie Lanjun. Who are you? Asked Night Sorrow as he walked out of the tent. I'm the commander of the Profound Mysteries realm, Jun Xuanji. Jun Xuanji narrowed her eyes at Night Sorrow. So you're the commander of the Profound Mysteries realm. Just use whatever techniques you have. I'll take them on, Yishang said. Originally, I thought you were an amazing person. Now it seems that you're just SOSO, Jun Xuanji said, attacking Yishang. Who would wait for you to cultivate before fighting? Jun Xuanji was silent for a moment. She couldn't refute that. She was still working hard to become a sovereign when she was 21. You're changing the subject. Why aren't you talking about me? I can't be bothered to talk nonsense with you. If you have the ability, then attack. If you don't, then just lie there in the realm sea. Night Sorrow retorted bluntly. Does anyone from the 9 regions world dare to fight? Jun Xuanji once again challenged Night Sorrow. At that moment, Yuya went to Night Sorrow's side and nodded at Night Sorrow. Are you confident? Asked Night Sorrow. She's too arrogant. As your father, I must fight, said Yi Wuyo. After thinking about it, Night Sorrow nodded. He knew that Yi Wuyo was the strongest subordinate of the 9 regions world saints. That holy maiden Jun Xuanji had also grasped the power of laws and was very powerful. No matter how strong she was, it would be impossible for her to kill Yi Wuyo. Yi Wuyo arrived in front of the 9 regions world's camp. I am Night Moon Dynasty's Yi Wuyo, said Yi Wuyo as he waved the spatial spirit artifact sword that Night Sorrow had given him. If my son can't fight, then I'll fight. The 9 regions world really can, said Jun Xuanji coldly. She had heard Yi Wuyo say that as a father, he must fight, so she had said it. She wanted to weaken Night Sorrow's influence. If my son can't fight, then don't waste your breath. My son has fought countless battles since his debut. He killed mid-stage saints as a beginner saint, and mid-stage saints have never lost against high-stage saints. You actually dare to say that my son can't fight? I'm not even 60 this year. That's not bullying you, said Yi Wuyo angrily. He was angry that Jun Xuanji was unscrupulously attacking Night Sorrow's momentum. "Old witch, how old are you? Tell us," shouted Liang Yu. Hearing that Jun Xuanji was attacking Night Sorrow, the God-slaying squad's members had long since been infuriated. "Then I'll test the power of a 60-year-old quasi-saint," roared Jun Xuanji as she charged at Yi Wuyo. Yi Wuyo's body flickered, and he also appeared above the realm sea. He swung his sword and began fighting with Jun Xuanji. Jun Xuanji and Yi Wuyo both had law energy protecting them, so they weren't afraid of the realm sea's law attacks. In truth, this is a battle between saints. Both sides' comprehension of laws is at the saint realm, but their true chi is at the peak of the saint realm, said Xiaolanjun. Night Sorrow didn't say anything. He was focused on the battle. Yi Wuyo's speed was extremely fast. As he waved his long sword, his sword chi tore through the air, creating spatial cracks. However, Jun Xuanji's defense was very powerful. All kinds of attribute energy appeared in front of him. Night Sorrow saw that there were 3 attributes: earth, water, and wind. Those 3 attributes intertwined, helping each other block Yi Wuyo's sword chi. This woman's talent is extremely high. Although the 3 attributes haven't fused, they're still able to support each other, said Long Xiansheng. Long Xiansheng had dabbled in many attributes, and he had a deep understanding of how to use them. He was able to see how powerful Jun Xuanji was. As the two of them fought in the air, Yi Wuyo's sword chi was blocked by Jun Xuanji, while Yi Wuyo dodged all of Jun Xuanji's sword chi. Because of his spatial attribute, Yi Wuyo's speed was not something Jun Xuanji could compare to. Just because you're fast, you're invincible. Spatial shackles, roared Jun Xuanji. The 3 attributes in front of her fused together, and she flew toward Yi Wuyo. Not good. The 3 attributes can use spatial energy to seal space. Long Xuansheng's expression changed. Then let's see how many times you can use that. A crescent moon slashed out from behind Yi Wuyo, and the sealed space was instantly cut open. Yi Wuyo's sword chi once more flew toward Jun Xuanji. Then let's see how many times you can break it. Jun Xuanji's voice was a bit cold. She hadn't expected her spatial shackles to be broken so easily. Next was the battle of rule force. Jun Xuanji didn't continue after using spatial shackles 3 times in a row, because she consumed a lot of energy. Her soul force needed to control 3 different types of energy, which consumed a lot more energy than Yi Wuyo, who only used spatial energy. However, it wouldn't be easy for Yi Wuyo's sword chi to break through Jun Xuanji's defensive energy. Chapter 828. Spatial Rend with a low roar. Yi Wuyo used the complete space rend and directly entered the turbulent space. The first few times he used the space rend, he only used 50% of its power to break through the spatial seal. This time he used his full power. After entering the turbulent space, Yi Wuyo's spiritual strength spread out, allowing him to sense the situation outside. Behind Jun Xuanji, Yi Wuyo once again tore open space, and the spatial rend extended towards Jun Xuanji's back. Jun Xuanji, who couldn't dodge in time, turned around and slashed out twice with his sword. Then he used his 3 attribute powers to suppress the spatial rend. At this time, Yi Wuyo charged out of the spatial rend and used spatial blades once more. This was the ability that came after one's spatial energy was saturated, allowing them to use spatial blades without limit. Nethead 7 sends spatial rend in this critical situation. Jun Xuanji used his trump card to shatter the spatial rend, allowing the berserk energy to block Yi Wuyo. Yi Wuyo was pushed back by the violent spatial disintegration, and a trace of red appeared at the corner of his mouth. However, Jun Xuanji was not much better off. His chest was directly pierced through by a spatial blade. You're very strong. This time, I wasn't prepared. You have the advantage, but it's impossible for you to win, said Jun Xuanji as he wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth. Then if you can win, come, said Yi Wuyo as he waved his sword. Just wait. It won't take long to break your spatial rend, said Jun Xuanji as he flew into the airship and directly retreated. Yi Wuyo also returned to the edge of the realm sea. Father, are you all right? Asked Night Sorrow anxiously. I'm fine. I was just struck by the spatial rend's energy. I just need to meditate for a bit. However, that woman is truly powerful. I can't break through her crisscrossing energy defenses, so I can't kill her, said Yiwuyo. That's a troublesome matter. Her cultivation path is similar to mine. It's an ordinary combination of energy that connects to the power of space, forming the spatial rend of the laws of spacetime, said Long Xiansheng. Yes, her elemental powers amplify each other. She is indeed very difficult to deal with, Yiwuyo said. She's using 3 different attributes. Actually, she still has another attribute in her body. It's just that she hasn't used it yet. It's the dark attribute. If she were to fuse 4 different attributes, it would be difficult for you to fight against her. Of course, she still wouldn't be able to kill you. Long Xiansheng said. Then Long Xiansheng explained to everyone that the fusion of 3 ordinary attributes would produce a special power. It could suppress ordinary attributes, resist the extreme attributes of ordinary attributes, and resist the suppression of high-level attributes. If it was a fusion of 3 extreme attributes, then it could suppress the extreme attributes of ordinary attributes and be on par with high-level attributes. If he had 4 extreme attributes, then his power would surpass the advanced attributes, but he would not be able to suppress the advanced attributes. Senior, the fusion of 3 extreme attributes is on par with the advanced attributes. But the fusion of 4 extreme attributes is still not enough to suppress the advanced attributes, Night Sorrow said. This is the truth of the heavenly Daos. Only the supreme attribute can suppress the advanced attributes. As for the other ordinary attributes, no matter how skilled you are in your research, it's not impossible to suppress them. Perhaps it's possible to fuse 5, 6, or even all ordinary attributes. But I don't know, said Long Xiansheng. This crazy woman's talent is truly tyrannical. Today, she fused 3 extreme attributes, but she still hasn't used her dark attribute. It's probably because it's not an extreme attribute, so it doesn't match with her 3 extreme attributes. Otherwise, her combat power would be even more terrifying, said Xiaolanjun. She needs time. We also need time, said Night Sorrow with narrowed eyes. In truth, what he wanted to say was that he also needed time. Night Sorrow wasn't afraid of Jun Xuanji's powerful attributes at all. That was because he had the supreme attribute, as well as the time and space attributes. What he lacked was time to increase his cultivation base. You don't have to worry too much. Father's spatial laws have reached perfection. I can tear space apart at any time. Even if I can't defeat her, I can still resist her, said Yiwuyo as he looked at Night Sorrow. Night Sorrow nodded and continued to cultivate at the edge of the realm sea. His cultivation direction was to stabilize his cultivation base and cultivate the power of the Myriad Dao Tome. In 4 days, Night Sorrow raised the Myriad Dao Tome's cultivation base to the 6th level of the Spirit Refinement Realm. His true Qi also continued to stabilize. Although the 9 realm saints didn't participate in the battle, they were still chatting and estimating the situation. Night Sorrow said that he needs time. Actually, he needs time to improve his cultivation base. He's the only one who can establish the foundation for victory, said Long Xiansheng. He's a 7th level saint. It'll take too long for him to reach the invincible saint realm. Moreover, we've seen Jun Xuanji's strength. Yiwuyo could only suppress him. Even if Night Sorrow has the power of time, it'll be difficult for him to win, said Heavenly Underworld Saint. That's because you're not experienced enough. The 9 realms are united. I'm not afraid of revealing Night Sorrow's secret. He has the supreme attribute. As long as he reaches the peak saint realm, as long as his true Qi can keep up, no one will be able to suppress him, said Long Xiansheng. As soon as Long Xuansheng's words fell, all the 9 realm saints were a little stunned. For many people, it was extremely difficult to have high-level attributes. Most of them had reached the saint realm with the peak attributes of ordinary attributes. But now, Night Sorrow had the space and time attributes, 2 high-level attributes. Long Xiansheng actually said that Night Sorrow had the supreme attribute. That's right. In the past, I was careful to hide it because I was worried that he would be killed before he grew up. Now that the 9 realms are united, no one will hurt him, so there's no need to hide it, said Wu Lingfei. Then for us, as long as Night Sorrow grows up, we'll definitely win the battle, said Heavenly Underworld Saint excitedly. But if we can't withstand the suppression of the enemy, We can only retreat with our people and wait for night sorrow to rise. At that time, the 9 realms will suffer a huge blow, said Long Xianxing. Time. What we need is time, said Xiaolongjun. After that, everyone called night sorrow to the tent. How long will it take for you to reach the pinnacle of the Saint Realm? Asked Xiaolongjun. 3 months to half a year, said night sorrow after thinking for a while. Your foundation must be stable. Don't ruin it because you're too anxious to increase your strength. Long Xianxing looked at Xiaolongjun with dissatisfaction. He was worried that Xiaolongjun's words would break night sorrow's rhythm and destroy his foundation. Xiaolongjun cupped her hands to Long Xianxing embarrassedly. Long Xianxing said to Yishang, by the way, for the next 2 days, you should call your father and cultivate with me for a while. The chaotic space that I cultivate is very similar to that of the Holy Maiden. Then Night Sorrow thanked Senior Long Xianxing on behalf of my father. Night Sorrow cupped his hands to Long Xianxing. After leaving the great sage tent, Night Sorrow told his father that Long Xianxing was willing to guide him. After that, he returned to the tent and sat down to cultivate, stabilizing his cultivation base and cultivating his soul power. At this time, Night Sorrow discovered the changes in his spirit sea. As his cultivation base and soul power increased, the Nihility Heavenly Fate Pearl had a reaction. Chapter 829. The Heavenly Fate Pearl of Void floated in Night Sorrow's spirit sea, which was already very thick with soul power. At the same time, it was emitting streaks of light. The Law of Void. Night Sorrow had an epiphany. The streaks of light were the Law of Void. It was also the key to entering the Saint Realm. After making 2 messaging crystals and giving them to his mother, Night Sorrow informed her, and entered the 70th floor of the Time and Space Pagoda. Then he began to analyze and comprehend the Law of Void. For Night Sorrow, the Heavenly Fate Pearl of Void had such a change at this time. The higher the level of the cultivator, the more difficult it was for them to fight against cultivators with higher realms. Venerables could easily suppress cultivators below the Venerable Realm. By mastering the unity of heaven and man, saints and half-step saints could easily eliminate venerables, because they had mastered the power of law. The power of law was the manifestation of an elemental law. It belonged to the power of the heavenly Tao. Venerables could not contend against it. In the Venerable Realm and Saint Realm, if they wanted to fight against cultivators with higher realms, they would have to work hard on their realm. Night Sorrow was not afraid of venerables when he was at the Void Inquiry stage, because he had already attained the unity of heaven and man realm. Now, not to mention fighting against saints, even fighting against half-step saints would require him to have the power of law. Therefore, when he discovered that the Heavenly Fate Pearl of Void had displayed the power of law, Night Sorrow was incomparably excited. It was equivalent to giving him the capital to fight against half-step saints. Yu Qing arrived at the command tent and passed one of Night Sorrow's messaging crystals to Senior Granduncle. After that, she went to the Saint Realm's main tent and passed another messaging crystal to her husband. He's in seclusion? Wu Lingfei asked. Yes. He was very excited just now. It should be because he has some opportunity to make a breakthrough in some aspect. Yu Qing was very proud when she mentioned her son. The pressure on this guy is too great. We can't do anything about it. Young concubine Yu is of the earth attribute. She is of the same origin as me. She can also follow me. Long Xianxing looked at Yu Qing and said, Thank you, Senior. Yu Qing cupped her hands towards Long Xianxing. She knew that cultivators who had reached the saint level, especially the high-level saints, would mostly seclude themselves to cultivate. They were not willing to impart their knowledge to others, nor were they willing to accept disciples. This was because they would be tainted with the mortal world and get into trouble, which would delay their own cultivation. It's nothing. Don't worry too much about it. Long Xianxing shook his head. Then the group of people went about their own business. Entropy was very busy because Taishu and Lu Qin had given him a lot of resources to set up formations at the defense line. Everyone had seen the power of the formations he had set up a while ago. It was a Grandmaster-level composite formation that could easily kill or trap a peak Venerable. Entropy, who was only a level 3 Venerable, had found his value. His achievements in the field of array formations could be maximized, so he was willing to do so. Night Sorrow was on the 70th floor of the space-time pagoda. While consolidating his true chi and myriad Daos treasured tome, he was constantly analyzing and comprehending the law of nothingness. Some of the peak venerables who had obtained saint crystals and source stones felt uneasy, because they were not complete laws. It was hard to say whether they could comprehend them or not. However, Night Sorrow was not worried. His heavenly fate jewel was the complete source of a world. It contained perfect laws. As long as he could comprehend it, there would be no problem for him to control the power of perfect laws. When he comprehended the key points, Night Sorrow activated his protective barrier and used his protective true chi to deduce. As Night Sorrow continued to comprehend and deduce, the structure of Night Sorrow's energy shield began to change as well. Strands of energy began to appear on the surface of his energy shield. The energy surged and melted away all the pure energy within the space-time treasure pagoda that approached Night Sorrow. In other words, the rich energy within the space-time treasure pagoda could not get close to Night Sorrow. If it did, it would melt away. After comprehending for 5 days, Night Sorrow woke up. After drinking some wine, Night Sorrow ate the dragon spirit pill and started cultivating with the desolate stone in his hand. At the same time, he continued to comprehend the law of nothingness. Yong 8 Geo, read 2 sea novels for free. 2 days later, Night Sorrow's myriad Daos treasured tome reached level 6 of God refinement. Then he naturally stabilized and improved his power of desolates. At the same time, his true chi cultivation was also increasing rapidly. After 20 days in the space-time pagoda, and 10 days in the outside world, Night Sorrow's true chi had reached the peak of level 7 supremacy. The myriad Daos treasured tome had also completely stabilized at level 6 of God refinement. Night Sorrow's biggest gain was that he could control a part of the law of nothingness. In addition, Night Sorrow discovered that when he was comprehending the law of nothingness, his soul power was increasing rapidly. The heavenly fate pearl of nothingness was also constantly absorbing his soul power and sending it out. In other words, it was getting more and more under his control. This was a good sign. Night Sorrow knew that if this continued, it would only be a matter of time before he comprehended the law of nothingness. He was also not far from refining the heavenly fate pearl of nothingness. When they reached the 60th floor of the space-time pagoda, Night Sorrow communicated with Xueshi. He knew that Xueshi had worked hard to recover and had reached the late stage of level 5 sage. She could return to level 6 sage at any time. Then the two of them cultivated together. While enjoying themselves, Xueshi took away Night Sorrow's essence chi, and also helped Night Sorrow's body, the myriad Daos treasured tome, and his true chi nourished. They didn't immediately leave the space-time pagoda. Night Sorrow communicated with Xueshi. He wanted to test out the law of nothingness he had comprehended and see how strong it was. Night Sorrow asked Xueshi to use an 8th rank supremacy's attack. When Xueshi's sword chi reached the area affected by Yishang's striped chi shield, most of it disappeared into thin air and turned into nothingness. The remaining part of the attack was unable to break through Yishang's chi shield. Is this the supreme law of nothingness? It can ignore 80% of my attacks. Xueshi was a bit dumbfounded. Then try using your law of nothingness to suppress it, said Night Sorrow to Xueshi. Xueshi nodded and used her law of wind and water to suppress Night Sorrow's body and surroundings. However, Night Sorrow's body flashed, and he was still able to move freely. The law of nothingness was completely neutralized by the purple light emitted by Night Sorrow's striped barrier. That's too domineering. Xueshi was truly impressed. Night Sorrow didn't have the ability to fight back, but he was like a lone boat in the ocean. He couldn't be overturned. It's still not enough. My speed has been suppressed by half. Without speed, I can still kill however I want. I'll go out for a breath of fresh air and come back to continue comprehending, said Night Sorrow to Xueshi. Just now, when Xueshi's law of nothingness had covered the 60th floor, Night Sorrow's barrier had been able to pass through. However, his speed had been reduced by half. That was something he wasn't willing to accept. In a battle, speed was very important. Without speed, one would be at the mercy of others. After leaving the time pagoda, Night Sorrow walked around. Under the pressure, the members of the god-slaying team had reached the venerable realm again. Hou Jian had already broken through to the venerable realm. Lei Bao and Xue Ling were also in the stagnation stage. This made Night Sorrow very happy. With the increase in their cultivation bases, their ability to protect themselves would be stronger. Xikong Chuyu and Yang Lei were both at the peak of the 5th grade. The two of them had been stagnating all this while. Because they had the ultimate attribute, the difficulty of their advancement was much harder than Hou Jian, Lei Bao and the others. The one whose cultivation base improved the fastest was Aoi. Her cultivation base was already high. In addition to the abundant resources she had, she was now at the late 6th level of the Void Inquiry stage. Yi Mei spent some time with Night Sorrow. She was now at the 4th level of the 5th grade. Her speed of improvement was much faster than ordinary cultivators. When they arrived at the command tent, Night Sorrow asked about the recent situation. He discovered that there were no movements at all. The cultivators of the 9 regions world were all trying their best to improve their strength. It's the calm before the storm. That woman is probably researching a stronger spatial confinement technique. Night Sorrow thought for a while and said, Chapter 830. Next, Night Sorrow went to the sage's tent. His parents had been there recently. Night Sorrow, I have something to tell you. I plan to take your mother as my disciple. Do you have any objections? Long Xianxing looked at Night Sorrow and asked. Translator. Endless Fantasy Translation Editor. Endless Fantasy Translation. That's a good thing. Night Sorrow said happily. Senior, are you really going to take me as your disciple? Yu Qing asked happily. You have the same attribute as me. Your comprehension and talent are not bad. You're suitable for me to study. I didn't mention it a few days ago mainly because I wanted to see what your husband and Night Sorrow thought. Long Xianxing smiled. Thank you, Senior. I can only agree. This is a rare opportunity for her. Yi Wuyo said. All right. Call all the saints of the 9 regions here tomorrow. This is the first time I'm taking a disciple. She might be my only disciple. We can't be careless. Long Xianxing smiled. It was hard for cultivators to find a master. Similarly, high-level cultivators were especially concerned about inheritances. If they could find a suitable and talented disciple, they would also place great importance on it. Night Sorrow then went to inform the others that his mother had taken Long Xianxing as her master. This was a big matter. The next day many people gathered in front of Long Xuanxing's tent. Almost all the saints of the 9 regions were present. The cultivation furnaces were also prepared. Long Xianxing lit 3 incense sticks in his hand and bowed to the cultivation furnace. Ancestors, the dragon turtle race has never accepted an outsider as a disciple. But today, I Long Xianxing will make an exception. On the path of cultivation, there should be no racial prejudice. Today, I Long Xianxing will accept Yu Qing from the human race as my disciple. Next was the apprenticeship ceremony. After the apprenticeship ceremony was over, Long Xianxing brought Yu Qing to the front of the cauldron to burn some incense. After that, the sky changed. A green light appeared and landed on Yu Qing. This caused everyone to be a little stunned, not knowing what was going on. Yu Qing, the Dragon Turtle clan, is an ancient clan with countless years of inheritance. Since you have become my disciple, your sincerity has already earned the approval of the Dragon Turtle clan. That was the approval of our ancestors. Long Xianxing said. At this moment, everyone understood that the origin of the Dragon Turtle clan was not simple. This was because they could already communicate with the heavens and earth. This meant that the ancestor of the Dragon Turtle clan was in existence that had obtained the approval of the heavens. All of you remember this well. She is my disciple. You all understand. Long Xianxing glanced at the others. Following which, Long Xianxing took out a round shield with a diameter of 1.5 feet. Yu Qing, you cultivate the saber art. The saber is only meant to kill, and only to slash. Therefore, your defense is slightly weaker. The mystic tortoise shield is my greeting gift for you. Many thanks, Master. Yu Qing bowed and received the black tortoise shield. I say, Long Xianxing, you're too stingy. Your greeting gift is just a shield, said Sky Underworld Sage. What do you know? That's the mystic tortoise shield with the Earth's protective energy. It's just that I haven't refined it yet. It's a holy treasure. If you have the ability, give your disciple a holy treasure and let me see. Long Xianxing glared at Sky Underworld Sage. Sky Underworld Sage curled his lips and didn't say anything. A holy treasure was a huge gift. After that, they held a huge banquet to celebrate. Night Sorrow was very happy. His father, Yi Wuyo, was strong, and his mother was strong. Now that Long Xianxing was taking care of her, let alone outside the 9 regions world, no one would dare to provoke Yu Qing. After the banquet, Night Sorrow went to the cultivation space by the sea, using a spatial storm to stabilize his cultivation base. Disciple, in terms of talent and hard work, your son is the true genius. Back then, his master accepted him as a disciple because he felt he was a worthy talent. But now, who in the 9 regions world would dare to accept him as a disciple? Asked Long Xianxing, looking at Yishang. Master means that no one can guide him. Yu Qing thought about it for a moment, and understood what Long Xianxing meant. Time and space attributes. If those 2 attributes can complement each other, then he can rival a sovereign. Other than that, he also has the nihility attribute. As for what the sovereign attribute is, no one knows. That's because in countless years, there hasn't been a sovereign attribute in our 9 regions world. If you say someone can guide him, that's just misleading him. He needs to slowly explore this path himself, said Long Xianxing. It'll be very difficult for him to explore it himself. There's no way around it. Yu Qing felt proud, but also heartache. Difficult? He's actually enjoying it. As long as he's willing to work hard, it won't be a problem for him to cultivate. Long Xianxing smiled. After that, Long Xianxing went to teach Yu Qing and Yi Wuyo how to cultivate. The way he taught them was completely different. He taught Yu Qing how to use the earth attribute to seal space. After that, she could add in the comprehension of other attributes. As for Yi Wuyo, he taught them how to break through space. It was completely one for offense and one for defense. Night Sorrow cultivated day and night. While consolidating his cultivation base, he also studied how to use the nihility attribute. Currently, Night Sorrow's ability to survive in the spatial turbulence was extremely strong. With the support of the law of nothingness and the protective barrier of nothingness, he could travel 200 miles in the spatial turbulence. After 10 days of continuous cultivation, Yishang felt that his true energy could break through to the 8th level. Only then did he stop his bitter cultivation. Night Sorrow went to Long Xuanxing's tent and accompanied his parents and Long Xianxing to drink tea. If I'm not wrong, you're going to level up again. After sizing up Night Sorrow, Long Xianxing said, "That's right. There are no problems with the condensation and control of your primary energy cultivation. You can advance. With the support of a deep cultivation base, you'll be able to unleash the power of laws," said Night Sorrow after taking a sip of tea. "You figured out the power of laws?" Hearing Night Sorrow's words, Long Xianxing asked in surprise. "Yes, I figured it out a little." Night Sorrow did not hide it. "That's great. However, you can't be impatient. You can't give up on the cultivation of your body. What you have now, no matter which one you cultivate, it'll be a great achievement." Long Xianxing said. "Junior understands. I won't disturb you. Father, mother, I'll go into seclusion. If there's anything, crush the communication crystal." Night Sorrow bowed to Long Xianxing and his parents and left the tent. Following that, Night Sorrow went to the camp of the god-slaying squad. Seeing Night Sorrow, Yimei pounced on Night Sorrow. Night Sorrow pulled Yimei down and knocked on her head. "You're a girl, so why don't you pay more attention? 13th brother, your cultivation base is rising too fast. We can't catch up even if we try," Tianyu said. "You can't rush it. You guys just have to cultivate steadily. Yimei, you too. Don't be impatient." Night Sorrow reminded everyone, and left the camp. After returning to his tent, Night Sorrow entered the Spacetime Pagoda. This time, he planned to cultivate the myriad Dao Tome with all his might after breaking through to the 8th level. After that, he would comprehend the power of laws of nothingness. As for the cultivation of his bloodline talent, Night Sorrow could only strengthen the quality of his bloodline, and try to break through the sixth bloodline talent. The sixth bloodline talent was too stable. He did not know how long it would take to break through. However, he knew that once he broke through the sixth bloodline talent, he would be able to comprehend the power of laws of space. Chapter 831. In the city lord's manor of East Cloud City, Jun Xuanji went into seclusion after informing Yi Xiantian. This time, she had not been able to defeat Yi Wuyo and had even returned injured. This made her very angry. After analyzing the situation, Jun Xuanji knew that she couldn't defeat or suppress Yi Wuyo with just 3 attributes. She planned to cultivate her 4th attribute, the darkness attribute, to the ultimate attribute, and then merge it with the other 3 ultimate attributes. At that time, the power of her spatial shackles would be greatly increased, and she would be able to defeat Yi Wuyo. Translator. Naibo Studio Editor. Naibo Studio. As for killing Yi Wuyo, Jun Xuanji knew that she couldn't do it. No one under the saint realm could kill a quasi-saint like Yi Wuyo who could control the law of space. Xian Wenxiu and Shang Luo didn't say anything. Jun Xuanji wasn't the one who couldn't turn the situation around. It was the Profound Mysteries realm's disharmony that had delayed the battle. Even the Profound Heaven Sword Sect and the Streamcloud Sword Sect, who had suffered great losses, couldn't say anything. Knight Sorrow spent 2 days on the 70th floor of the Space-Time Pagoda to raise his true energy cultivation to the 8th rank. He stood up and stretched his body. After resting for a while, Knight Sorrow took out the Blood Spirit Tortoise Crystal, communicated with Little Kong, and began cultivating. Yi Shang stabilized his true Qi cultivation base. While cultivating the Myriad Daos treasured tome, he was also comprehending the power of laws released by the heavenly fate pearl of nihility. When he wanted to deduce the power of laws, Yi Shang told Little Sky to stop pouring energy into him because it would be a waste. After comprehending the power of law, Knight Sorrow's soul strength increased rapidly. In addition, Knight Sorrow felt that he was very close to completely refining the Void Fate Pearl. The reason the Void Fate Pearl released the power of law was because Knight Sorrow's soul strength had reached a certain level. This time, Knight Sorrow didn't easily come out of seclusion. He cultivated bitterly for 2 months. He only stopped when his cultivation of the Myriad Dao Tome reached the peak of the 6th rank of the Spirit Refinement Realm. At this time, Knight Sorrow's comprehension of law was very deep. Knight Sorrow then went to the 60th floor of the Space-Time Pagoda. Seeing the arrival of Knight Sorrow, Xueshi woke up from her meditation. "You seem to be in good shape," Knight Sorrow said as he sat down. "You've recovered to the level of a 6-star saint. You're getting closer and closer to your peak. You're doing well too. The blood qi in your body is getting stronger and stronger. Although I can't hear it, I can feel the sound of your blood flowing. A drop of your blood is probably heavier than a top-grade qi refinement metal." Xueshi shared her feelings. "I've made some progress. I'll have to trouble you to test it out with me," Knight Sorrow said with a smile. "Of course, no problem. Tell me how you want to test it." Xueshi looked at Knight Sorrow and asked. She was looking forward to Knight Sorrow's advancement. "The power of laws is completely suppressing me," Knight Sorrow said. Xueshi nodded and released her rule force. Following the release of Xueshi's rule force, the 60th floor of the Space-Time Pagoda was filled with the power of fused wind and water. Knight Sorrow raised his protective barrier. The barrier was filled with streaks of purple light, and the streaks were filled with threads. Knight Sorrow's body began to flicker within the Space-Time Pagoda. After flickering for a while, Knight Sorrow stopped. "I can maintain 80% of my peak speed. The effect is very strong. I still have to continue comprehending it," Knight Sorrow said after thinking for a moment. "You're really an idiot. You're using your qi to drive the power of laws. Don't you know how to use your soul strength? When your soul strength fuses with your rule force, it will spread outwards. Isn't that just giving you space to move?" Xueshi was speechless at Knight Sorrow. "Haha, I'm really an idiot. I never thought of that." Knight Sorrow smiled embarrassedly. "How do saints use the power of law to suppress their opponents?" Xueshi explained to Yi Shang. "The speed at which saints use their power of law to suppress their opponents isn't that fast. They use their soul power to fuse with the power of law." "I understand. Thank you, Night Sorrow said as he reached out to hold Shuexi's arm. Don't work too hard. You have to take care of your body. Such a high-intensity cultivation is a huge burden on your body and soul. Shuexi said to Night Sorrow. I know. Are you bored here? Is there anything you want to do? I can find a place where there's no one and let you out. Night Sorrow said as he cupped Shuexi's face with both hands. No. If there is, I'll tell you. Shuexi buried her head in Night Sorrow's embrace. After a passionate session with Shuexi, the two of them helped each other cultivate for a while. Then Night Sorrow left the space-time pagoda. After taking a look around, Yishang paid a visit to some of the elders. Night Sorrow had been cultivating in the space-time pagoda for 2 months. Only 1 month had passed in the outside world, so there hadn't been much change. Night Moon's 4 peak venerables had all reached the undefeatable realm, and the 9 realms world's peak venerables had also appeared. Night Sorrow's dragon spirit pill was a huge benefit to those cultivators who lacked resources. When he had nothing to do, Night Sorrow went to the edge of the realm sea to cultivate his spatial cracks. He used the chaotic flow of the spatial cracks to temper his cultivation base. At the same time, he used Shuexi's advice to cultivate his nihility rule force. In the past, when he used his chi to stimulate the rule force, Night Sorrow's comprehension of the rule force could only affect a radius of 6 meters around him. Now that he used his soul strength, the area he could control was much larger. It could be said that the nihility rule force could cover dozens of meters around him. Night Sorrow could also control a specific area. Night Sorrow didn't use nihility rule force to protect his body. That way, his chi and the myriad Dao Tome's energy wouldn't be consumed, and there would be no point in tempering himself. Time and time again, he exhausted all the energy in his body, and then recovered it again and again. Under this kind of tempering, Yishan's cultivation became more and more solid. In addition, Shuexi often helped him nourish his body. After another round of nourishment, Night Sorrow looked at Shuexi and smiled. I haven't spent as much time with my 3 fiancés as you. If you have time, you can talk to them. Of course. My wind origin body's foundation is very stable. I don't need too much of your essence chi to advance from the small perfection to the great perfection. On the other hand, they need it. If you have time, you can bring 6 senior sister Li in. I'll guide her in condensing a peak body, said Shuexi. That's fine, but it'll be later. I have to cultivate my body to the 7th rank of the spirit refinement realm. That way, I'll reach the late stage of the spirit refinement realm. Not only will the myriad Dao Tome's energy be denser, but my body's defensive power will also increase. At that time, if Jun Xuanji comes again, I'll be able to fight him, said Night Sorrow. Shuexi nodded. She knew that with his true chi cultivation at the 8th level of the Exalt realm, coupled with his mastery of the laws of nothingness, and his body's defense, Night Sorrow had the ability to fight against anyone below the Saint realm. After cultivating for 2 more days, Night Sorrow decided to go into seclusion. After saying goodbye to Sikong Chuyu and Yang Lei, he sent Aoi into the space-time pagoda so that she and Shuexi could learn. Then Night Sorrow entered the 70th floor of the space-time pagoda. He took out the blood spirit turtle crystal and began to cultivate. At the same time, he continued to strengthen his bloodline and comprehend the nihility rule force. 2 days later, Night Sorrow's myriad Dao Tome reached the 7th level of the spirit refinement realm. He stretched his body and drank 2 mouthfuls of wine. After thinking for a while, Night Sorrow clenched his teeth and made a decision. Chapter 832. Night Sorrow decided not to come out of seclusion, and used the myriad Dao Tome's energy to strengthen his body. At the same time, he would eat the dragon spirit pill to raise his cultivation to the peak of 8th level venerable, and continue to comprehend the power of laws. Night Sorrow felt a little anxious, but the situation of the battle was constantly changing. If Yi Wuyo couldn't hold on when Jun Xuanji came again, it would be troublesome. Jun Xuanji could bring a spaceship directly into the 9-domain world, and start a war everywhere. After making his decision, Night Sorrow didn't hesitate. After eating the dragon spirit pill, he sat down cross-legged and began to cultivate. This time, the strengthening of his body was only a small amount, so the pain wasn't too deep. It didn't affect Night Sorrow's comprehension of the power of laws and cultivation of true qi. 3 days later, Night Sorrow finished strengthening his body and started to cultivate the myriad Dao Tome. With Shao Kong's power of time, Night Sorrow's myriad Dao Tome's energy increased in quantity, and his elemental energy was also in a state of saturation. Yishang did not have to deliberately think about the cultivation of the myriad Dao Tome, nor did he have to worry about the improvement of his bloodline talent. While absorbing the energy of the Dragon Spirit Pill to cultivate his true qi, Yishang worked hard to comprehend the power of laws. After using 12 days, Night Sorrow finished strengthening his body and increasing his true qi. In addition, his comprehension of the power of laws and soul power increased greatly. Night Sorrow even felt that it wouldn't be long before he could condense a God Pearl. After stretching his waist, Night Sorrow returned to the 60th floor of the Space-Time Treasure Pagoda. At this time, Xueshi was guiding Aoi's cultivation of the ultimate attribute. Night Sorrow, you can't cultivate like this. No matter how you consolidate, you won't be able to eliminate the drawbacks of increasing your cultivation in a short period of time. Seeing that Night Sorrow's cultivation had reached the peak of 8th level Venerable, Xueshi's expression changed. I was a little rash this time, but I will work hard to stabilize my cultivation. Night Sorrow nodded. He knew in his heart that he had gone overboard this time. After exchanging a few words with the two women, Night Sorrow returned to the Nine Regions world. He didn't go see anyone, but he went to the edge of the realm sea and tore open space. He practiced the use of the power of laws, while tempering his cultivation base. Night Sorrow's compatibility with the space-splitting spear had increased. Although it was not as smooth as the reincarnation spear, its power had reached the level of a middle-grade spiritual weapon. Q permanent 9G free 1C FSG small said are with the passage of time, Night Sorrow felt that his condition had improved. He no longer felt as weak as he did a few days ago. Night Sorrow felt at ease because even if Jun Xuanji came, he could still fight. This meant that the more time he had, the more confident he would be. After cultivating for 2 days, Night Sorrow returned to the Space-Time Treasure Pagoda once and cultivated with the two women. He gave his essence to Aoi, but Xueshi helped Night Sorrow condense his cultivation. After cultivating, Night Sorrow let Xueshi test the strength of his body again. Without wearing a shirt, Night Sorrow stood in front of Xueshi and let her attack. Xueshi used her 7th level sovereign cultivation, but didn't pierce Night Sorrow's body. She only pushed Night Sorrow back a bit. Increase your cultivation, Night Sorrow said. Xueshi then used her cultivation as a level 8 venerable, and the flowing wind sword's power reached the level of a high-grade spiritual weapon. Only then did she manage to leave a 2-inch deep wound on Yishang's chest when he was knocked back. If your cultivation surpasses mine, you can break my body's defense. However, I haven't infused my energy yet. Let's try again, Night Sorrow said as he glanced at the wound that was beginning to heal. Okay. Xueshi looked at Night Sorrow and asked. Night Sorrow nodded and infused the myriad Dao treasure's energy into his body. Xueshi attacked again, but she only pushed Night Sorrow back and left a white mark on Night Sorrow's body. She didn't break through Night Sorrow's body's defense. After standing firm, Night Sorrow exhaled. Not bad. There's no need to try again. Even if she's a 9th level sovereign, her attack will only injure me slightly. It won't be a big problem. After wiping his wound that had already healed, Night Sorrow put on his robe. If your soul power and law power can keep up, you can fight anyone below the saint stage. Xueshi looked at Night Sorrow and said, if I have enough time, I can also condense my soul power into a god bead. Night Sorrow said, you're not far from condensing a soul bead. Xueshi looked at Night Sorrow in surprise. At my current speed, I'll definitely be able to condense a god bead in 2 months, Night Sorrow said. Don't rush around recklessly. Do it steadily. Xueshi was a bit worried about Night Sorrow. The main reason was that Night Sorrow's cultivation was rising too quickly. After drinking a pot of tea with the two women, Night Sorrow returned to the Nine Regions world. After that, Night Sorrow went to visit Long Xiansheng, his parents Xie Lanjun, Wu Lingfei and the others. When they saw Night Sorrow's cultivation, they were shocked because Night Sorrow's cultivation had already reached the peak of the 8th level sovereign realm. After chatting for a while, Night Sorrow went to the edge of the realm sea, intending to continue consolidating his cultivation. However, Yuuyo followed him. Night Sorrow, don't worry too much. That woman is strong, but I can still handle her. After all, she only has an ordinary attribute. Even if she has an extreme attribute, she still can't suppress my high attribute. Yuuyo didn't want Night Sorrow to feel too much pressure. Father, don't worry. If she comes again, I'll fight her, Night Sorrow said. Your cultivation base is still a bit low. Furthermore, you've only just begun to comprehend law power. You won't be able to fight her. The difference between a sovereign and a half-saint is a watershed, said Yuuyo. Father, I'm cultivating a spatial crack. I'll use chaotic space to consolidate my cultivation base. You can also come and watch. In order to reassure Yuuyo, Night Sorrow directly invited him. All right. Yuuyo smiled. Night Sorrow then took off his robes, leaving only his combat pants on. While Yuuyo was still in a daze, he tore through space and entered the chaotic space. After entering the chaotic space, Night Sorrow used a protective barrier to protect his lower body, allowing the chaotic space to bombard his upper body. Night Sorrow stood there, enduring the chaotic space's attacks. The chaotic space's energy couldn't even cut through his hair. After standing there for a while, Night Sorrow activated his protective barrier. At the same time, he unleashed his law power and charged forward. The law of nothingness was a supreme attribute law. Even the destructive energy within the chaotic space could only resist it. On the other hand, all other attributes were suppressed and melted away. This allowed Night Sorrow to maintain his speed. A moment later, he was 150 miles away. He tore through space and appeared in the Nine Realms world. Night Sorrow looked at his father. Father, how do you feel? That's supreme law power. Yuuyo looked at his son in surprise. Yes, so no matter how stable I am, I'll have no problem fighting against Jun Xuanji. Don't worry, father. Any attack below the 9th level of the Exalted Realm won't even be able to break through my defense. Even if her attack contains the power of laws, it'll be weakened by my protective barrier and won't be able to injure me, said Yishan. Very good. Let's not talk about anything else. Just this spatial tear of yours will allow you to travel long distances. No one below a saint will be able to kill you. Don't worry. Next time she comes, you'll deal with her. Yuuyo was very confident in his son. Chapter 833. Yuuyo's confidence wasn't blind. He wouldn't joke about his son's safety. Just now, his spatial laws had been suppressed in the chaotic streams of space. That made him understand that no matter how fierce Jun Xuanji was, he wouldn't be able to overcome the suppression of a sovereign's attribute. With this trump card, Night Sorrow was undefeatable. New / D nethead XAFA. Furthermore, Night Sorrow's spatial rend allowed him to survive in the chaotic streams of space. No one below the Saint Realm could kill him. What shocked Yuuyo the most was Night Sorrow's physical strength. Night Sorrow had endured the chaotic streams of space without using a protective barrier. That chaotic spatial storm, which had the power of a 7th or 8th rank venerable, hadn't injured Night Sorrow in the slightest. The two of them went to the edge of the realm sea and began drinking a jug of wine. A moment later, Yuqing came over. You two really are something. Why didn't you get something to go with the wine? Fortunately, I still have some meat. I don't have any more regrets. With a son like this and a wife like this, what more could a husband ask for? Yuuyo smiled and drank a large mouthful. Yes. Even if there's danger, even if there's war, our family is still happy together, said Yuqing. When I was young, I saw other children with parents. I always thought about what kind of people my parents were. Over the years, I've always pictured them in my heart. But no matter how I pictured them, they were all fake. Only when I saw my parents did I feel at ease, said Night Sorrow. It's all because your father wasn't strong enough to protect you back then, said Yuuyo apologetically. Father, don't say that. In truth, this is fate. She also gave me a different life. The past 20 years might have been hard, but it was very fulfilling. I got to know many people I shouldn't have known in my life. Old Man Gu, my master, my senior apprentice brothers, and my 3 fiancés. This is also very good. It's just that I wasn't able to fulfill my filial duties in front of my parents. But I think there's still a long way to go. It's not too late, said Night Sorrow. Yes, it's not too late. In the future, our Yi clan will dominate the world, Yi Wuyo said with a smile. After drinking, Yi Wuyo and Yu Qing left. They also needed to cultivate. Night Sorrow continued to cultivate. He had no intention of increasing his cultivation level. He wanted to stabilize his cultivation level and continue to comprehend the power of laws to strengthen his soul power. During this period of time, Night Sorrow understood that the power of the soul was the foundation to use the power of the law. With no one to disturb him, Night Sorrow stayed at the edge of the realm sea, stabilizing his cultivation base in the spatial rifts. In the blink of an eye, half a month went by. Night Sorrow emerged from the spatial crack once more. Stretching his waist, he said, "Now my foundation has finally stabilized. However, my comprehension of the power of laws has improved greatly during this period. My soul power has also improved considerably." Yi Shang did not deliberately seek to improve his cultivation. Whether it was his genuine qi or the cultivation of the myriad Tao treasured tome, they could be improved naturally. What he valued now was the improvement of his soul power and the control of the power of rules. Those were the foundation of everything. After resting for a while, Night Sorrow once more began to cultivate. He felt that cultivating the power of laws was the fastest way to improve his soul power. As Night Sorrow worked hard on his cultivation, the people of the Nine Realms world were also rapidly increasing their strength. In the Western Nether region's East Cloud City, Jun Xuanji came out of seclusion. "Holy Daughter, how's your advancement?" asked Xian Wenxiu. "I've already comprehended the ultimate darkness attribute. Now, I need to fuse it with the other 3 ultimate attributes. That'll take some time. Yi Wuyo has the spatial attribute, so he shouldn't have any room for improvement. In the next battle, I'll be able to suppress him. Once I suppress him, the rest of us will be able to crush him and secure our victory," said Jun Xuanji. "There are many variables in this battle. We've lost the initiative, so we can only advance steadily," said Xian Wenxiu. "Yes. You don't need to feel too burdened. At the very least, we've occupied the Western Nether region. If we can't suppress them, then we'll just conquer the Western Nether region first. We're in a passive position right now because we didn't listen to your suggestion back then," said Shang Luo. Time slowly passed. Night Sorrow's control over the power of laws grew deeper and deeper. His soul power also rapidly increased. He was getting closer and closer to condensing a divine bead. On this day, just as Night Sorrow had recovered and was about to tear open space to cultivate, the Profound Mysteries Realm spatial ship appeared once more. Following the appearance of the ship, the Nine Realms world's people instantly gathered. Even the saints came to watch. "Yi Wuyo, come out. Let's fight again." Jun Xuanji appeared in front of the spatial ship. "Do you think it's enough now?" Yi Wuyo took a few steps forward. "I might not be able to kill you, but I can beat you until you flee. At that time, I'll see who can block my path. I'll kill whoever dares to stop me. I, Jun Xuanji, will definitely conquer the Nine Realms world." Jun Xuanji waved her sleeves and roared. This time, she had cultivated 4 elements into one. She was determined to suppress Yi Wuyo. Then she would lead her people to crush him. Shameless boasting. "Today, I, Night Sorrow, will fight you." Night Sorrow raised his reincarnation spear and walked to the front of the Nine Realms world's people. Seeing Night Sorrow arrive, all the sovereigns cupped their hands in greeting. "Do you think you're qualified?" Jun Xuanji's eyes were filled with disdain. "Who do you think you are to talk about qualifications with me? If you think I'm not qualified, then I'll kill my way into your camp tomorrow. At that time, you won't be able to fight me just because you want to," said Night Sorrow as he waved his reincarnation spear. "Haha, good courage. Then I'll give you a chance to fight. Although defeating you won't give me any sense of accomplishment, you're still one of the Nine Realms world's commanders. It'll be meaningful," said Jun Xuanji. "There are a few types of people I hate. One of them is people like you who think you're infallible. People who boast shamelessly the moment they open their mouths are very annoying. I especially hate that self-righteous mouth of yours," said Yi Shan. You must die today. Jun Xuanji swung his sword and charged at Night Sorrow. Night Sorrow's body trembled, and he drew an arc in the air as he charged into the Realm Sea. Nonsense, the Realm Sea's law energy is attacking. The Flying Tiger Saint was worried and wanted to stop him. However, he was stopped by Long Xiansheng. What are you so excited about? The 9 Realms world's commanders are fools. At this moment, Night Sorrow and Jun Xuanji charged over and began fighting. Night Sorrow's body contained immense power, and even though his cultivation base was not as high as Jun Xuanji's, he wasn't at a disadvantage. Instead, he was forcing Jun Xuanji back. Your body is very strong, but it's useless. You don't understand the difference between us. Law suppression. After mocking Night Sorrow, Jun Xuanji unleashed her law energy to suppress Night Sorrow. She planned to use her realm to suppress him and then kill him. She had been infuriated by Night Sorrow's smelly mouth, and now she just wanted to kill Night Sorrow to vent her anger. Chapter 834. At this time, purple streaks of light appeared on Night Sorrow's body and blocked Jun Xuanji's attack. After blocking Jun Xuanji's law suppression, Night Sorrow waved his reincarnation spear and used the 7-star brilliant moon spear to suppress Jun Xuanji. Night Sorrow's spear attack, excluding the strength of his true qi, also had the strength of over 100,000 kilograms. It wasn't something Jun Xuanji could block. While Jun Xuanji was wondering why his law power couldn't suppress Night Sorrow, he was already pushed back by Night Sorrow. He had to rely on his agility to stabilize himself. However, Jun Xuanji found that he still couldn't do it. That was because Night Sorrow's protective barrier was extremely strong against space, and his speed and agility were high. His speed wasn't as fast as Night Sorrow's, so he was constantly attacked. After being continuously attacked by Night Sorrow, Jun Xuanji's qi and blood were shaken. He was already unable to stabilize himself. Night Sorrow was fast and powerful. The power of each of his spear attacks was something he couldn't bear. Do you see that? This is the effect of being fast and powerful. Jun Xuanji can only passively take a beating, said Long Xiansheng. After being continuously attacked by Night Sorrow, Jun Xuanji felt that he couldn't handle it anymore. His body swayed, and 3 kinds of spatial shackles pressed down on Night Sorrow. Spatial shackles. Break for me. Night Sorrow roared, and the purple ripples on his body violently shook in all directions. Jun Xuanji's spatial shackles were directly broken. After breaking the spatial shackles, Night Sorrow's reincarnation spear once again stabbed toward Jun Xuanji. Jun Xuanji retreated while using spatial shackles to control Night Sorrow's attack speed. But it was completely useless. The purple streaks on Night Sorrow's body directly shattered his spatial shackles. He didn't seem to be struggling at all. You think I'm not qualified? Night Sorrow's reincarnation spear violently attacked, and he continued to suppress Jun Xuanji. Then I'll give you the 4 extremes combined attack that I prepared for your father. At this moment, Jun Xuanji revealed his trump card, the 4 extremes combined kill, a consummate skill that he had just developed. Then, for types of rule force visible to the naked, I pressed down on Night Sorrow. Break for me. Night Sorrow roared. The purple halo around his body rippled in all directions, rushing towards the confinement of the 4 elemental laws. Jun Xuanji's 4 extremes combined attack was very strong. However, it only managed to resist Night Sorrow's rule force for a moment, before it was dispersed. At that moment, Jun Xuanji's face became unsightly. She did not know what was going on. She knew that something had gone wrong when the 4 extremes attack was broken in an instant. After using the quadrupole combined kill 3 times in a row, and controlling Night Sorrow's speed, Jun Xuanji's body flashed and entered the spaceship. Then the spaceship quickly left. By the time Night Sorrow broke through the 4 extremes combined attack, the spaceship had already left. Moreover, the spaceship's defense was extremely strong. It was not something that could be broken through in a short moment. Night Sorrow did not chase after it. After a few flashes, he returned to the shore of the Realm Sea. He put the reincarnation spear back into the holster on his back, and hung the ice silk bag that contained the phantom Dowstone clone on his waist. Before every real battle, Night Sorrow would put away his soul clone to prevent it from being contaminated by other people's auras. Night Sorrow, you win. Wu Lingfei came to Night Sorrow's side. But I still can't take her down, Night Sorrow said as he looked in the direction the spaceship had left. Your cultivation is not as high as hers, and your rule force is not as smooth as hers. It's already not easy to defeat her. You should be satisfied, said Wu Lingfei as she patted Night Sorrow's shoulder. Son, you lost to a quasi-sage. Yuqing also came to Night Sorrow's side. She's a quasi-sage, so she doesn't have much room to grow. But you're different. You have a lot of room to grow. Next time we meet, she won't be a match for you, said Long Xiansheng. I still need time, said Night Sorrow. Night Sorrow was clear about his own situation. He did have a lot of room to grow, but time was of the essence. He didn't know what other methods his opponent had. We don't lack time. As long as they can't break in, time is not a problem. Their commander has been defeated, and their morale will drop, said Sky Underworld Saint. Next, we need to prepare for our counterattack. We need to confirm where the spatial channel between the 9 regions world and the profound mysteries realm is, said Night Sorrow. Then let me go investigate, said Yi Wuyo. No. Jun Xuanji's 4 extremes attack was designed for you. You can't go, said Night Sorrow. He couldn't let his father take the risk. But we need to know where the spatial channel is. Only then will we have a chance to counterattack, said Yi Wuyo. Look at KYV Chapter C section #Q8VNetL. I'll take care of this. Everyone else, don't go to the Western Nether Realm. They definitely have backup plans. Be careful, said Night Sorrow. Yi Wuyo wanted to say something, but after looking around, he didn't say anything. Night Sorrow was the commander of the 9 regions world, so this should be an order. He had to carry it out. After that, Night Sorrow tore open a spatial rift and began cultivating. Seeing Night Sorrow cultivate, the others also went to make arrangements. There were still many things to do. After returning to the flying ship, Jun Xuanji looked confused. She didn't understand what had happened today. That young man's elemental power is suppressing you, so all your skills are useless. But what's up with his elemental power? I don't understand, Xian Wenxiu said from inside the ship. He's still very inexperienced. I'll think about it when I get back. Jun Xuanji still didn't understand. It wasn't that Xian Wenxiu and Jun Xuanji were stupid. It was just that no one had ever thought of a supreme attribute. Since ancient times, there had never been a supreme attribute. Wait for your senior apprentice brother to come. No matter how strong he is, it'll be useless. In front of the Tao of Slaughter, he's not enough, said Xian Wenxiu. Jun Xuanji nodded. She knew her senior apprentice brother's situation. Her senior apprentice brother didn't have any great talent. He only had one strong point, and that was his combat power. He lived for slaughter. And he even had the power to withdraw from the Saint realm. A fellow who was only a 4th rank saint a few months ago is now a peak 8th rank saint. I really don't understand. Jun Xuanji still didn't understand. Every world has someone with great fortune. Or maybe he's the one with the fortune of the 9 regions world. If we can fight him, we'll win, said Xian Wenxiu. Wait for my senior apprentice brother to come, then we'll fight again. I don't believe that we can't kill him. Jun Xuanji clenched her fists. It was clear that she wasn't calm at all. Night Sorrow continued to consolidate his cultivation in the spatial turbulence. He was comprehending the law of nothingness. He knew that the battle would come soon. The next battle would be even more difficult to deal with. Night Sorrow felt that only by condensing the God Orb could he have the power to control the 9 regions world. Chapter 835. Yi Shang cultivated very hard, and this moved the saints and high-level venerables of the 9 regions. Everyone knew that Yi Shang was going all out for the sake of the 9 regions. Yi Wuyo and Yuqing were heartbroken. Staying in Long Xuanqing's tent, they were not in the mood to cultivate. Worry heartache. Not to mention you as his parents, even I feel heartache. This is his path, the path of defying the heavens. Isn't this also a tempering of his temperament, soul, and humanity? This time he has stood firm, and he won't fall again in the future. Long Xianxing said. Yi Wuyo and Yuqing looked at each other. They understood what Long Xianxing meant, and they also knew that this was Night Sorrow's path. Every time he was tired, Night Sorrow would enter the spatial pagoda to recover and drink a cup of tea made by Aoi. Seeing Night Sorrow enter the spatial pagoda again, Aoi pulled Night Sorrow to sit down. You have matured. Come, senior sister will help you clean up. Aoi pulled Night Sorrow to clean up, and then helped Night Sorrow to clean his beard. This was the first time Night Sorrow cleaned his beard. You can't work so hard, Xueshi said with heartache. Time is important, but I feel that I can make it. My chi can enter the 9th level of supremacy at any time, and my comprehension of the power of laws is also good, Night Sorrow said. Aoi and Xueshi did not let Night Sorrow continue cultivating. Instead, they let Night Sorrow take a bath and rest on Xueshi's big body. 8K first 3 shots asterisk after resting for half a day. Night Sorrow felt refreshed when he woke up. He was really tired during this period of time. On this day, Night Sorrow did not go out. Instead, he sorted out his gains on the 60th floor of the spatial pagoda. He planned to break through to the 9th level of supremacy and slowly cultivate the myriad Dao treasured tome. Night Sorrow had also finished nourishing the space splitter spear. However, his soul clone was still far from completion. After all, this was the second time he condensed it, and the time was much shorter. Night Sorrow, with Sister Xueshi's help, I have completely comprehended the extreme attribute. Next, I can cultivate the extreme body, Aoi said with a smile. And, you have to thank Sister Xueshi for this. Night Sorrow was also very happy when he heard that Aoi had succeeded in her cultivation. After that, Yishang exited the space-time pagoda and went to Sikong Chuyu's tent. He took Xueshi and Qingji, who had used the breath-concealing technique, out. Then he called for Yang Lei and had Tianyu catch some beasts. After a round of drinking, Yishan felt completely relaxed. Take it slow. There's no need to rush. Jun Xuanji is the top below the saint stage. Since you can defeat him, then there's no problem for you to fight below the saint stage. It's necessary to improve your cultivation, but there's no need to rush, Xueshi said. Night Sorrow nodded. And that's true. I don't believe that anyone below the saint stage can kill me. I'll break through to the 9th level of supremacy later. After hearing Xueshi's words, Night Sorrow knew that he was a little impatient and emotionally unstable. After resting for a day, Night Sorrow put Xueshi and Aoi into the 60th floor of the spatial pagoda. He entered the 70th floor of the spatial pagoda and began his closed-door cultivation. He wanted to break through to the next level. It's a good situation. His mood has stabilized. There's no problem, Xueshi said with a smile. He's been under a lot of pressure recently. It's really been hard on him. Aoi also felt very sorry for Night Sorrow. After 2 days, Yishang successfully raised his true energy cultivation to the level of a 9th level venerable. Night Sorrow reached the 60th floor of the spatial pagoda. Xueshi pulled Aoi and pushed Night Sorrow onto the big bed. The 3 of them cultivated together for a while. After Aoi took Night Sorrow's yang qi to cultivate, Xueshi helped Night Sorrow nourish his body and the energy and true qi of the myriad Tao tome. After cultivating, Xueshi looked at Night Sorrow with a strange gaze. She could feel the tyrannical strength of Night Sorrow's body. The strength of the energy in his body shocked her. She couldn't imagine how Night Sorrow cultivated to this level. Xueshi also understood that Night Sorrow's body wasn't at its limit. It was still improving, but the space for improvement was immeasurable. Night Sorrow, you've cultivated to the 9th level of supremacy. You can't take pills anymore. At this time, you need to stabilize your cultivation. The more stable it is, the better. Although there's a war, you still need to build a foundation for entering the Saint Realm, Xueshi said. In her world, Night Sorrow was the most important. As for the 9 regions world, she had to put it aside. I understand. The 9th level of supremacy is enough. I just need to stabilize it slowly. My main goal now is to improve my rule power and soul power, Night Sorrow said. Xueshi nodded. She knew that Night Sorrow's way of thinking was correct. Slowly increasing his cultivation was enough. Soul power and rule power were the key to entering the Saint Realm. After leaving the space-time pagoda, Night Sorrow met up with his parents. After drinking tea, He went to the border of the realm sea with Wu Lingfei. Night Sorrow, I can't help you with anything right now, but you can't rush it. The situation is very good. The Profound Mysteries Realm's commander has been defeated. This is a big blow to them. Unless they have a way to deal with you, they can only stay in the Western Nether region, said Wu Lingfei. So the Profound Mysteries Realm will definitely think of a way to deal with this. Since they've decided to attack our 9 regions world, they'll definitely have a lot of hidden cards. This time, I was a bit anxious, said Night Sorrow. You mean to say that we shouldn't defeat her? We should stabilize her first. Wu Lingfei understood what Night Sorrow meant. Yes. That way we can buy a bit more time. However, in our 9 regions world, there won't be any more invincible venerables and peak venerables for the time being. The problem is that I still have some room for improvement, said Night Sorrow. There's still time, said Wu Lingfei with a smile. She had seen Night Sorrow's strength and knew that in a battle below the Saint Realm, Night Sorrow would be safe. As long as he didn't fall into a trap, there wouldn't be any problems. Night Sorrow nodded. Seeing Wu Lingfei's smile, he felt much more at ease. After parting with Wu Lingfei, Night Sorrow went to the God-slaying squad's camp and watched them cultivate. After looking around, Night Sorrow returned to his tent. He knew that Jun Xuanji definitely had a backup plan. Only by withstanding this wave of backup could the war enter a period of stability. After calming himself down, Night Sorrow entered the 70th floor of the space-time pagoda. Then he began to comprehend law energy and cultivate his spiritual strength. At this time, in the Western Nether region's Eastern Cloud City's City Lord's mansion, 2 people were welcomed. One was the Profound Pavilion's Jia Shen, while the other was wearing blood-red robes. His hair was also blood-red, and it covered his entire face. This person was the Profound Pavilion's most talented person, Ren Tianji. He originally had a chance to become a holy son, but in order to pursue the highest level of power, he had walked the Tao of slaughter. As a result, he had only comprehended the intent of slaughter. He hadn't comprehended law energy. It was his intent of slaughter that had prevented him from comprehending law energy. Even so, he still had the power to fight and retreat saints. Chapter 836. Junior Apprentice Sister, I'm here. Ren Tianji found a seat and sat down. Senior Apprentice Brother, you're here. Jun Xuanji nodded to Ren Tianji. You must have run into some trouble. What do you need me to do? Once I'm done, I'll return to cultivate, said Ren Tianji. Ren Tianji saw Xian Wenxiu and Shang Luo, but he ignored them. He only greeted Jun Xuanji. I lost. If I wasn't a saint, I wouldn't have had a chance of defeating him. Furthermore, my Profound Mysteries Realm has signed a saint contract with the 9 regions world. Saints are not allowed to fight, so I can only trouble Senior Apprentice Brother to fight, said Jun Xuanji. You can fight however you want. I don't have much time. I owe Junior Apprentice Sister a favor, so I'll fight for her. Of course, you should know that when I fight, it's either killing or being killed. It's a matter of life and death, said Ren Tianji. Jun Xuanji nodded. She knew that this was Ren Tianji, who had never been defeated since his debut. What he cultivated was the way of slaughter. Originally, Jun Xuanji had asked Ren Tianji to come over as a backup plan to kill Yi Wuyo. Later, she felt that she could defeat Yi Wuyo after cultivating the 4 extreme combined attack, and Ren Tianji wouldn't have to do anything. However, an even more terrifying Yi Sorrow had appeared in the 9-domain world. She couldn't even defeat him, let alone kill him. Then Senior Apprentice Brother should rest. I'll invite Senior Apprentice Brother over, said Jun Xuanji. Then someone brought Ren Tianji to rest. How could a genius of his generation end up like this, sighed Shang Luo. This is his tribulation. If he can endure it, his future will be limitless. It's just that he chose the wrong path. He originally had a chance to walk the right path, sighed Xian Wenxiu. Grand Elder, what do you mean? Does my Senior Apprentice Brother still have a chance? Asked Jun Xuanji. Because he has grasped the will of slaughter repels his comprehension of the power of law. If he first grasps the power of law and then cultivates the will of slaughter, there won't be such a drawback. If he can perfectly grasp the will of slaughter, then there will be an opportunity, Xian Wenxiu said. Xian Wenxiu's heart ached for Ren Tianji. He had repeatedly tried to persuade Ren Tianji to give up on cultivating the slaughter intent. In the end, they had a huge argument, and Ren Tianji had even given up on all the benefits he would receive in the profound pavilion. That was why Ren Tianji had entered the city lord's mansion and ignored Xian Wenxiu. Let's look forward to that day. Senior brother is the true genius, Jun Xuanji said. Jun Xuanji sighed. He couldn't tell what he was feeling. She had instigated Ren Tianji to cultivate the slaughter will. Competition was because of competition. Without Ren Tianji's competition, she could smoothly rise to the top. This was scheming and scheming. Now that she had great power in her hands, she hoped that Ren Tianji could live a better life. 2 days later, Jun Xuanji, Xian Wenxiu, and Shang Luo brought Ren Tianji and some unrivaled venerables of the profound mysteries realm to the sky above the domain C of the three origin domain. Seeing the other party invade, the Grand Elder crushed Night Sorrow's messaging crystal. New chapter UJ section UJ Woi Net Night Sorrow, who was stabilizing his cultivation base and cultivating the power of law, woke up from his meditative state. He came out of the space-time pagoda and appeared in front of the tent in a flash. Night Sorrow, be careful. They already know how strong you are in the last battle. This time they came to challenge you. That means they're prepared, Wu Lingfei reminded Night Sorrow. I know. What will come will come. I've never underestimated them, Night Sorrow said. Why don't you let Father test the waters first? Yi Wuyo said. No, I have the ability to protect myself. It won't be easy for anyone to kill me. Father, Mother, don't worry. Night Sorrow said and went to the edge of the Domain C. The Profound Mysteries Realm's airship stopped above the Domain C and didn't enter the three origin domain. There were saints on the airship. The three origin domain hadn't been conquered by the Profound Mysteries Realm yet. If the airship came over, the world's origin laws would determine that it was an invasion by saints. After the airship opened, 2 figures appeared. One was Jun Xuanji, who was wearing a moon-white dress. The other was Ren Tianji, who was wearing a blood-red robe and had blood-red hair that covered his face. Ren Tianji carried a 2-meter-long saber on his back. Even the hilt was blood-red. What? You're not willing to accept your loss last time, and brought reinforcements this time. How do you plan to fight? Night Sorrow asked as he waved his reincarnation spear. I don't think we'll lose. At most, we'll be evenly matched. This is my senior apprentice brother, the evil monarch of slaughter, Ren Tianji. You'll be the first person to die to his saber, Jun Xuanji said to Night Sorrow. Last time, I already said that I hate your stinky mouth. Don't tell me you didn't remember? Yi Shuang coldly replied. He was disgusted by Jun Xuanji's words, which didn't have any persuasive power. Is it him? Ren Tianji looked at Jun Xuanji. Yes, it's him, Jun Xuanji said through gritted teeth. She wanted nothing more than for Night Sorrow to immediately die. Jun Xuanji had pursued the path of power. For power, she had done very well. She was already a quasi-saint. For power, she had become the holy maiden of the Profound Pavilion. In the Profound Pavilion, her words were orders. In the Profound Pavilion, a single word from her could decide a person's life or death. However, after entering the 9 regions world, she had been defeated by Night Sorrow. She had cursed him twice but had been unable to say anything. Chapter 837. Titled Immortal, This is Interesting, Ren Tianji muttered. He waved the blood-red saber in his hand and charged toward Night Sorrow. Night Sorrow dashed forward and performed the 7-star brilliant moon spear technique with his reincarnation spear, thrusting it toward Ren Tianji's saber. Ding! With a crisp sound, Night Sorrow's reincarnation spear and Ren Tianji's blood-red saber collided. The two of them were separated by a distance. Night Sorrow retreated more than 12 meters, while Ren Tianji retreated slightly further. Night Sorrow's cultivation base was not as profound as Ren Tianji's, but his body was strong enough. At this time, the energy of the myriad Dao Tome was also circulating in his body. With the support of the energy of the myriad Dao Tome, Night Sorrow's strength was stronger, so Ren Tianji was at a disadvantage. Ren Tianji, who was repelled by Night Sorrow's spear, charged forward again. He waved his saber and slashed at Night Sorrow. The blood-red saber aura was very terrifying. Night Sorrow's reincarnation spear danced and displayed his spear technique. He fought head-on with Ren Tianji. Night Sorrow was not afraid of anyone in a head-on battle. Even if Ren Tianji's cultivation base was at the peak of the Venerable Realm. The two of them fought in the sky above the Realm Sea, causing energy fluctuations to surge in all directions. After a while, because he could not defeat Night Sorrow, Ren Tianji's eyes turned blood-red. The blood-red energy on his body surged, and his killing aura rippled in all directions. The first one to be suppressed was Night Sorrow. Seeing that Ren Tianji had performed a special ability, Night Sorrow propped up a protective air shield. The power of the law of nothingness rippled in all directions, blocking the suppression of Ren Tianji's killing intent. Then he brandished his reincarnation spear and fought head-on with Ren Tianji. At this time, Ren Tianji seemed to have lost his mind. He attacked violently with his saber, one strike after another, like a storm. Ren Tianji's attacks were violent, but Night Sorrow's attacks were even more violent. He still suppressed Ren Tianji and forced him to retreat. After being repelled by Night Sorrow, Ren Tianji spun around and attacked. The two of them fought above the Realm Sea. Seeing that Ren Tianji's unorthodox blood energy could not suppress him, Night Sorrow executed the law of nothingness to suppress Ren Tianji. With the release of Night Sorrow's law of nothingness, the blood-colored aura released by Ren Tianji's body was directly suppressed to the side, forming a protective barrier. At this moment, Night Sorrow unleashed his speed. His reincarnation spear continuously bombarded Ren Tianji's body. "Break!" Ren Tianji roared. His blood chi shook violently and spread out to a range of 2 feet. Then he brandished his blade and slashed towards Night Sorrow again. JQAJV. The other IR/CX Pirate S Edition V. While fighting head-on with Ren Tianji, Night Sorrow thought about the battle situation. He knew that Ren Tianji's cultivation was unorthodox, and his attainments were very deep. Even the law of nothingness was blocked by his protective barrier. It would be very difficult to kill him. However, Night Sorrow was not afraid. Ren Tianji's cultivation was profound, but his true chi and myriad Dara scripture were supporting his attacks. His ability to resist consumption was stronger than Ren Tianji's. He also had the advantage in a battle of attrition. The two of them fought from the sea to the sky, and from the sky to the sea. Their figures were everywhere within a radius of several miles. Ren Tianji's state was very wild. After fighting for half a day, the intensity and frequency of his attacks did not seem to decrease. Most of the time, they fought in a way that would cause both sides to suffer. Night Sorrow realized that Ren Tianji had already lost his mind. The only thing he knew was to fight and to kill his opponent. The two of them crazily fought for half an hour. Night Sorrow discovered a problem. Ren Tianji did not consume much energy at all. The blood-colored slaughter chi he released would be absorbed by his body after he used it to attack. Just wait for your death. Using the slaughter intent to activate your blade, your energy is endless. If you don't kill your opponent, you won't stop, said Jun Xuanji. So what? Night Sorrow coldly snorted. He knew that Jun Xuanji was trying to influence him. After fighting 2 more times, Night Sorrow clenched his teeth and made a decision. When they fought again, Night Sorrow stabbed his spear towards Ren Tianji's chest. Ren Tianji still did not care about his own defense, as he slashed his blade towards Night Sorrow's waist. Right now he wanted to kill Night Sorrow. He did not care about his own safety. Night Sorrow did not block and continued to stab forward with his reincarnation spear. Squeak. Yi Shang's reincarnation spear broke through Ren Tianji's protective chi shield and pierced through Ren Tianji's shoulder as he dodged to the side to avoid being hit in a vital spot. At this time, Ren Tianji's blade also broke through Night Sorrow's protective barrier. When no one dared to look directly, Ren Tianji's blade slashed towards Night Sorrow's waist. At the crucial moment, the image of time flowing appeared on Night Sorrow's waist. After blocking Ren Tianji's blood-colored blade, the blade cut through his robe and reached his body. However, what shocked everyone was that the blood-colored blade just stuck to Night Sorrow's waist and did not cut through. After being offset by Night Sorrow's protective barrier and blocked by the power of Desolates, Ren Tianji's blade was unable to break through Night Sorrow's body defense. At this time, Night Sorrow's reincarnation spear fiercely pierced through Ren Tianji's shoulder blade and collarbone. After sending Ren Tianji flying, Night Sorrow continued to chase after Ren Tianji with his spear. At this time, Night Sorrow was also using an internecine strategy. When others used an internecine strategy, they were risking their lives. However, Night Sorrow was different. He had a strong body defense and was not worried about the possibility of being injured. It was a completely different strategy. In addition, this strategy was not used by Night Sorrow first. After Ren Tianji made his move, he had been using an internecine strategy. As Night Sorrow's internecine strategy unfolded, Ren Tianji could not hold on any longer. Although his combat awareness allowed him to avoid his vital points, Night Sorrow still pierced many holes in his body. If it was an ordinary cultivator, their battle prowess would be affected, and their fighting spirit and state would also decline. However, Ren Tianji still maintained his peak state and attacked. Night Sorrow was also having a headache because he had continuously resisted Ren Tianji's attacks and consumed a lot of energy. The situation was obvious. If the battle continued, Ren Tianji would continue to be injured, but his combat power would not decrease. However, Night Sorrow would not be able to hold on any longer. The advantage of Ren Tianji's killing intent was the continuous fighting spirit and the constant energy consumption. Night Sorrow did not intend to continue fighting like this. No matter what happened to Ren Tianji after he was severely injured, it was a fact that he still maintained his peak combat power. If this continued, Night Sorrow would be the unlucky one. With this idea in mind, Night Sorrow used the space splitter and slashed in front of Ren Tianji. Ren Tianji's body flashed and dodged the space splitter. However, the space splitter formed beside him. At this time, Night Sorrow used the realm of the union of heaven and man to prevent the space splitter from closing. Then he flashed to Ren Tianji's side and violently attacked with his spear. Ren Tianji habitually waved his blood-colored saber at Night Sorrow. After 3 moves, Night Sorrow bombarded Ren Tianji to the space splitter's entrance. This was the opportunity that Night Sorrow needed. When they collided again, Night Sorrow used his shoulder to block Ren Tianji's attack. At the same time, he stabbed Ren Tianji's chest and sent him into the space splitter. Then he ignored the broken defense on his shoulder and the wound on his shoulder. He waved his left hand at the space splitter. You're tuning into the Echoes of the Heart YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.